Hey, what's up, everyone? No TikTok, time to rock here. Um, AP's out of town. Just wanted to go through some of the latest stuff now that a shooter has been identified. Also, Jai messaged me and pointed out that um, Erica Kirk, so that's Charlie's wife, she's going to be giving a statement. They're going to be releasing a statement sometime soon. That's actually why I was a little late, even on my own. I was figuring out how to play a video. So, I mean, I always play videos, but I download the videos and then import them into something and crop them and change the sound, adjust the volume, all that stuff. And then I use them. But you've never seen me actually just play a video like off YouTube while I'm live. But anyway, I'm gonna try it. Gonna try it this time. Have to see when this goes live. Matter of fact, if anyone wants to monitor Turning Point USA's channel and so on, I'm gonna check it periodically to see if they're. I don't see they've set up a live stream or anything. Let me check real quick. So. Oh wait, hang on. Okay, so now they do have one. All right, then I should hear this when it starts playing, and we'll switch over to that. So, so anyway, yeah, Erica Kirk is going to be addressing everyone. So as soon as that actually starts, it should be here very shortly. We'll go ahead and watch it. I just hope the volume's loud enough and so on so we can hear it. If not, not sure. We might just shut things down and then wait till she's done. But we'll see what happens. No, AP is not coming. AP is in the UK right now, and it is. Well, I was going to say he's probably asleep, but he's probably not asleep. But I'm not going to bother him. He's probably doing. He had a lot of stuff set up, interviews and all that stuff going on over there. So not going to bother AP. We are going to check some stuff out. We're going to check some stuff out here. So we've got, everyone is familiar with the shooting already. Let me go back a couple of days. We already played a couple of clips of what happened at the actual event. So this is beforehand at the event. So this is when they're getting ready. Pretty big crowd, as you can see. Lots of young people excited. And that's kind of what was most special about Charlie. He seemed to get young people interested in things. So.
That's a lot of people, Utah, I'll tell you what. All right, we're going to get started, everybody. You know how it works. Question and answer. Also, thank you to Lane from YRE5. That was great. Really appreciate it. And we're going to be here for a couple hours.
And guys, this was just moments before he was shot.
Get comfortable. Bring the best libs that Utah has to offer.
All right, so that goes on for a while. Again, that's right beforehand. That's right beforehand. And then I'm not going to play the footage of the shooting, even though I do have a blurred out version and so on. I'm sure anyone who wants to see it by now has already seen it, and therefore no need to play it here. And here's him being rushed away right afterwards.
Stop, folks! Stop! Back up! Amy!
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh!
One of the weirdest things, one of the weirdest things in the aftermath, which I didn't see until today, and I didn't even know it was going on. But yeah, matter of fact, hang on. Where'd it go? Someone just posted it. That was interesting. Yeah. A couple people pointed out exactly what I was thinking right here. A couple of you posted this. Yeah, so Kayla here says Frank Turek was there actually. Yeah, he was right beside him. And then Corey says, "Did you see people wanted to implicate Frank Turek, but as we all know who follow him, he would not." Yeah, yeah, that was. I just found that out today when Frank Turek's ministry posted something saying, "Hey, there's a rumor going around that Frank had something to do with this." It wasn't like people identifying Frank Turek and saying, "Hey, Frank Turek is this bad guy, so he must have had something to do with it." It was he was close to Charlie right when Charlie got shot, and right before that, Frank was doing something on his phone, and people who were watching all the video clips, because people posted video clips from like almost every angle, but people are pointing out that, hey, there's this guy on, doing something on his phone right beside him. So this is like a signal or something. This is a signal to the shooter to do it and so on. But these were people who had no idea who Frank Turek was. They're making videos and they're like circling him and saying, this guy looks like he's signaling him. And come to find out it's actually Frank Turek, who's good friends with him, who's done multiple shows with him and stuff. So guys, if you see anything like that, go ahead and squash that. That is like deranged nonsense. Again, you understand it's not people like targeting Frank Turek. It's they see a guy in a video and they think, hey, this guy looks like he's doing something on his phone. Maybe he's in on it. Guess what? No way Frank Turek was in on anything like that. All right. So yeah, we already the other day we went through multiple clips and so on. Right now, I wanted to go through. Well, first let's check out the surveillance footage. Yeah, the surveillance footage of the guy when he's on the roof. It's going to be hard to see because, well, it's already hard to see. He's just kind of tiny, and then they zoom in a little bit. But here's the surveillance footage that they were checking out. So this probably looks small to you, but do you guys see up there at the top? So that's the roof of the building. He was on the opposite side of the corner. I'll kind of scroll here, but do you see the little guy right there running? Right there, he runs out and he's going to the corner on the right. So that's him running. Anyway, so yes, this is on the opposite side of things from Charlie Kirk's speaking event. Hang on, let me go ahead and check and see if they're going live yet. Nope, don't see anything. All right. Again, if you're just jumping in, they are going to release a statement from Charlie Kirk's wife, and we're going to switch to that once it's starting. So anyway, you've got this this video footage, and you see him. You can see him way off in the distance on the left running, and then he runs behind, and then you see him running there, and then they kind of zoom in here, and you see him. He just jumps off the building. I mean, he kind of hangs off the edge, but he just jumps off. But here he goes. So again, kind of small. But hanging off the edge there, jumps to the ground. And notice, no one's around. I mean, there are a couple people you can see walking, but they're not paying any attention to him. They don't even see him. And so he jumps off there. No one sees him. Everything that's going on is on the opposite side of the building. Opposite side of the building, everyone's running and screaming right now. But no one's over here. And so he's jumping down here, and then you're going to see him, and he just starts walking and then walks across the road. And they're going to switch to, yep. And watch, so he's hustling now to get away from things, but then he's just going to start calmly walking. And who's going to notice this guy? Who's going to notice this guy here? So that was, it was basically a matter of time. We talked about this last night on a different channel over on Eric's channel, Your Brother in Christ. But obviously well planned because he was able to, he knew where he was going to do it. He knew how to get up there. He knew how to get away without being seen. So obviously well planned, but there are too many, let me put it this way. We were talking about this last night. Anyone who's committed crimes before, breaking and entering, any of that stuff, you know, you almost always case the place out ahead of time. You don't just randomly show up to a place and break in. You check it out ahead of time. You visit the place around the time you're going to do something on other days earlier to familiarize yourself with it, make your plan, and so on. So they wouldn't just be looking at video footage at surveillance footage from that day right after the attack. They would be looking at all the video footage from days prior to this, because you know a guy, if he had a plan like this together, he was visiting this place beforehand. And so last night we kind of put together our own, just based on the limited information we have, what we were expecting. And you had lots of people saying, oh my goodness, he made the shot from that far. This must be a professional sniper, a professional assassin, a professional hitman. So he must have been hired and paid by a government. The people saying that have just never used rifles. There was a couple gun guys. I shot guns when I was a kid and stuff like that. I'm not allowed anymore, but had two gun guys on the show, like two guys who, have like gun range, gun ranch, all that stuff, use all sorts of firearms and stuff. And I was pointing out, I said, I remember from a kid that would not have been a terribly difficult shot with a decent rifle. And because I've seen the estimates, some people were saying 400 feet, some people were saying 200 yards, but I was saying 200 yards is not a hard shot with a 30-06 with a scope on it. And I said, am I right? And Eric, he said, with a 30-06 with a scope in it, he would have no problem hitting a bullseye at 700 yards, let alone 200. With that said, you do have to have some rifle experience, because you're not just going to not know how to shoot a rifle and show up and do this sort of thing, right? You had to have some background. So I said I would have guessed he just grew up like hunting, going on hunting trips or something like this, being in a family where they hunted and had rifles and stuff, or possibly military experience. But given that it was on a college campus and the person knew the campus, I also guessed that it would be a student or a former student, someone who's familiar with the campus, knew his way around. So there, you're not even thinking military at that point. You're thinking student or recent student with some sort of background with rifles and hunting and so on. And turned out that was actually correct. He's not a student there now. He was a student there a few years ago, I think in 2021 or something like that. He was a student there. And comes from a family where they shoot rifles. There are lots of pictures circulating of him. They would go to gun shows and so on. So that all turned out to be correct. As far as what sort of person was doing it, you also had people, this was planned by the U.S. government. This was Israel. That was the most common thing I heard from Muslims and from Sneeko, that this was a plot by Israel. You think, I mean, young people are becoming very anti-Israel. And Charlie's like kind of the main person that young people are paying attention to, who was pro-Israel and so on. So why would you kill him? And obviously because he was going to say the wrong thing or something. All right, I'm going to pause here because we have Charlie Kirk's wife about to speak. So I'm going to switch to that and see if this works.
State and federal law enforcement who worked tirelessly to capture my husband's assassin so that he can be brought to justice. I want to thank the first responders who struggled heroically to save Charles's life, and the police who acted bravely to make sure that there were no other victims on that terrible afternoon. I want to thank the officers who have protected our Turning Point USA family these past 2 days. And I want to thank the Turning Point USA board, the COO, Justin Strife, and my husband's chief of staff, the amazing Mikey McCoy, for all their work in these terrible days to be the stability for our family and for the wider Turning Point USA family as well. My heart is with every one of my husband's employees who lost a friend and a mentor. I want to thank the staffers of his amazing Charlie Kirk show, who helped him broadcast from this studio, this chair. Every day he loved it. He loved what he did. I want to thank the millions of people who have shown their love for Charlie here in Phoenix, across America, and worldwide. I want to thank my husband's dear friend, Vice President Vance, and his phenomenal wife, Usha, for their love and support. You guys honored my husband so well bringing him home. Both are tremendous. I want to thank President Trump and his incredible family for the same. Mr. President, my husband loved you. And he knew that you loved him too. He did. Your friendship was amazing. You supported him so well, as did he for you. 2 days ago, my husband, Charlie, went to see the face of his Savior and his God. Charlie always said that when he was gone, he wanted to be remembered for his courage and for his faith. And one of the final conversations that he had on this earth, my husband witnessed for his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Now and for all eternity, he will stand at his Savior's side, wearing the glorious crown of a martyr. Charlie loved life. He loved his life. He loved America. He loved nature, which helped him always bring him closer to God. He loved the Chicago Cubs. And my goodness, did he love the Oregon Ducks. He'd want me to say go Ducks, so I have to since they play on Saturday. So go Ducks. But most of all, Charlie loved his children. And he loved me with all of his heart. And I knew that. Every day I knew that. He made sure I knew that every day. Every day he would ask me, how can I serve you better? How can I be a better husband? How can I be a better father? Every day. Every day. Such a good man. He still is a good man. He was the perfect father. He was the perfect husband. Charlie always believed that God's design for marriage and the family was absolutely amazing, and it is. It is, and it was the greatest joy of his life. And over and over, he would tell all these young people to come and find their future spouse, become wives and husbands and parents. And the reason why is because he wanted you all to experience what he had and still has. He wanted everyone to bring heaven into this earth through love and joy that comes from raising a family. It's beautiful. Charlie always said that if he ever ran for office, I know a lot of you asked if he ever was going to, but privately he told me if he ever did run for office that his top priority would be to revive the American family. That was his priority. One of Charlie's favorite Bible verses was Ephesians 5, verse 25. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. My husband laid down his life for me, for our nation, for our children. He showed the ultimate and true covenantal love. I will never, ever have the words to describe the loss that I feel in my heart. I honestly have no idea what any of this means. I know that God does, but I don't. But Charlie, baby, I know you do too. I know you do. So does our Lord. And our world is filled with evil. But our God, you guys, our God is so good. He's so incredibly good. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. Already I have seen the worldwide outpouring of love for my husband. I've heard the testimonies from people my husband inspired to get married, to start families, to seek out a relationship with God. It's the most important one of all. The evildoers responsible for my husband's assassination have no idea what they have done. They killed Charlie because he preached a message of patriotism, faith, and of God's merciful love. But they should all know this. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country. In this world, you have no idea. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die. All of us will refuse to let that happen. No one will ever forget my husband's name, and I will make sure of it. It will become stronger, bolder, louder, and greater than ever. My husband's mission will not end, not even for a moment. And one of Charlie's greatest talents was his ability, this phenomenal ability to choose great people to follow him. He could always find the ones who could handle any setback. And it's almost like he knew. He could see it in you. Even when you couldn't see it in yourself, he just knew. He knew you could handle it. You thought you only had 5% left, and he knew you had 15. He knew you were ready to go that extra mile even when you didn't. He always challenged people around him to work harder and to be better. He never gave up. And I love knowing that one of his mottos was never surrender. So I want to tell you that we'll never surrender. We never will. Ever. Ever. Our campus tour this fall will continue. There will be even more tours in the years to come. America Fest here in Phoenix this December will go on. It will be greater than ever. The radio and podcast show that he was so proud of will go on. And in a world filled with chaos, doubt, and uncertainty, my husband's voice will remain. And it will ring out louder and more clearly than ever. And his wisdom will endure. My favorite too, but my husband's favorite word in the English language was earn. He would call all of you to be people of action who earn the future America deserves. So to all of the young people who felt inspired by my husband's faith and hard work, all of you already know what Charlie would want you to do. You know. You know. If you're in high school or if you're in college, go find your local Turning Point USA chapter. Join it. Stay involved. He wants you to make a difference. And you can. You can. The movement's not going anywhere, and it will only grow stronger when you join it. If there isn't a chapter, you can't find one, then start one. There is no excuse. You can start one. And as my husband used to say in this room, every single day, if you want to get involved, the best way you can do that is going to tpusa.com. That's what he would say every day from this chair. Every single day. I watched his show every day, and he would always say, if you want to get involved, go to tpusa.com. If you're a pastor, join our movement at TPUSA Faith. And if you're a parent, I highly recommend that you come to America Fest in December. Sign up right now for that because we would love to see you. I would love to see you. Charlie would. He'll be there. He'll be there in spirit. Bring your kids, bring your family. But most important of all, if you aren't a member of a church, I beg you to join one. A Bible-believing church. Our battle is not simply a political one. Above all, it is spiritual. It is spiritual. The spiritual warfare is palpable. Charlie loved his Savior with all of his heart, and he wanted every one of you to know him too. He wanted everyone to know that if they confess the Lord Jesus Christ who rose from the dead, then they will be saved. Hear me when I say this, nobody is ever too young to know the gospel. Nobody. Nobody is ever too young to get involved with saving this beautiful country, this country my husband loved and still loves. And nobody is ever too old either. There's no age limit. I know my husband is still here. He's watching over us. I don't remember the last time I slept. I couldn't sleep last night. And Charlie, baby. Charlie, I promise I will never let your legacy die, baby. I won't. I promise I'll make Turning Point USA the biggest thing that this nation has ever seen. I promise. Charlie, I love you. I love you, baby. Rest in the arms of our Lord as he blankets you with the words I know your heart always strived to hear. Well done, my good and faithful servant. When I got home last night, Gigi, our daughter, just ran into my arms. And I talked to her and she said, Mommy, I missed you. I said, I miss you too, baby. She goes, where's Daddy? What do you tell a 3-year-old? She's 3. I said, baby, Daddy loves you so much. Don't you worry. He's on a work trip with Jesus, so he can afford your blueberry budget. And my goodness, am I so humbled to witness Charlie, you alongside Jesus right now, doing what you always want to do, baby. Making heaven crowded, right? That's what it's all about. Making heaven crowded. I can't wait to see you again one day. Thank you all again who love my husband, who supported him, who wrote him an email every single day during his radio show. He read all of them. All of them. God bless you all. And may God bless America.
Wow. That was powerful stuff. Just clicking off here. Yeah, I was wondering about what you say to the daughter. I was assuming something similar. You don't tell her what happened. You say you say her dad's on a trip with Jesus. That's probably what I'd go with a 3-year-old. So anyway, guess she's reacting exactly the way you'd expect the wife of Charlie Kirk to react. If you're trying to shut something down, they're going to dial it up. So sounds like she is still mourning, but she knows what Charlie would want her to do, and she's going to do that and make it happen. So I encourage all of you to support her and all the work that's ahead for her. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. And wow, I didn't watch. I've only seen like a couple of Charlie Kirk clips where he was talking to someone from one of his little campus interviews or something like that. But yeah, seems like she was speaking from his office and he's not in the chair. So yeah, that's powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. Did you guys see the haters? Did you guys see the haters? We've had a couple mods. We've had a couple mods blocking the haters, saying some really, really nasty things. But I have to say, and this goes for everyone, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen the clips because been in a couple live streams where we're going through like the TikTok videos of people celebrating Charlie's death as if they've got some tremendous victory and so on. One, you just kind of turbocharged his movement. So I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know if you're thinking, aha, we took out Charlie Kirk. Now all that stuff is done. And then with all the celebrations afterward, like, you're kind of convincing people that you're evil, right? In other words, if people just thought, oh, you know, you're just on a different side of this, you're just on a different side of these issues and so on. Now people are thinking that you guys are complete evil. And when people conclude that you're not simply people with a different opinion that we should, discuss and debate or something like that, but that you're pure evil who want people dead and want to leave children without their father and so on. Yeah, you're changing minds. I don't think this is going to go the way you thought it would. So anyway, just trying to scroll through comments. I see lots of people commenting on how beautiful she is and so on. I think she's like a former Miss Arizona or something like that. I think I saw that somewhere. Matter of fact, I'll just look real quick. I think she was a former beauty queen. Oh yeah, Miss Arizona USA 2012. So in 2012, she was Miss Arizona USA. So guys, that should be an encouragement to all you young Christian guys out there. Apparently, women like a guy who stands up, stands up for what's right. So, I did want to comment. We got some clips to go through, but this is so weird. You still got the people going, oh, I think Israel may have been behind it because, you know, he was going more anti-Israel. He's always had criticisms of Israel, but he's always been very pro-Israel. But he'll call things out. He'll call things out when he thinks he needs to. But I just wanted to, I was going to play other stuff. But for those of you, and this was especially Muslims, but a lot of other people, I only had this clip ready just in case it came up, and then it started. Looking at the comments, it came up instantly and over again. Charlie actually had advice for people who are going to blame Israel for anything. Now, keep in mind, guess what, guys? Jews are human beings, so sometimes Jews do bad stuff, right? Epstein was a Jew, right? That was bad stuff. They do seem like the one group where anytime any Jew does something, you blame the entire group, or you blame all of Israel or something like this. But anyway, so the point is, you can have legitimate criticisms of something that someone actually does, but that can escalate, as it has, and as we see on this topic, to anything that happens, you already know it's the Jews, like no matter what happens. And Charlie actually responded to people like that, which is interesting because even some popular commentators are going to be blaming Jews for this. Let me put it that way, even after the information came out about the shooter and so on. So here's Charlie Kirk on blaming Jews for everything and whether this is good for you and for your mental health.
Thank you for coming, Charlie. And I had a quick question about anti-Semitism online. Another question here they asked about Candace Owens, and I'm a big fan of you. I was a big fan of her, but she's obviously been going down this anti-Semitic bent. And through her, I'm kind of finding out about these other characters online, like Nick, for instance. I'm sure you've heard of him. And these people, they've been active for a long time, and it seems like they've just been ignored, which is working, but now they're kind of surging in popularity. And as someone who I enjoy watching your debates, are they people you'd be willing to engage with and maybe shut them down in a way through a debate or something like that?
So there's a Jewish guy. He's got a yarmulke on, and he's saying, "Hey, what about the online people? Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, and if I recall, guys, tell me in the chat because I don't remember where I saw this, but I know Charlie and Candace knew each other and were friends, but I think he helped her get started, right? Wasn't it Charlie Kirk and Dennis Prager and so on? Am I right about that? We'll let this go on, but I think they used to work together. But let's go ahead and play this a bit.
Well, I mean, I'll debate Candace. But no, look, I'll debate anybody that shows up at our campus events first and foremost. But I do want to take what you say and extrapolate.
Okay, yeah, people are saying yes. That he did help her. They did used to work together. But anyway, here you have a Jewish guy asking about people like Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes. And hey, Charlie, would you be interested in debating them? Because you obviously have some different views. But let's go ahead and see what he says. Very, very sound advice. And guys, I want to point out, this is very important advice, not just on this issue. Not just on this issue. What do I mean? He's being asked specifically about what about people who just like blame Jews for everything? What's going on there? The advice he's giving is much bigger than that, because it's not just about Jews. We'll talk about why it's important here in a second, but massively important advice for everyone here.
Shows up at our campus events first and foremost, but I do want to take what you say and extrapolate that there is a corner of the internet of people that want to point and blame the Jews for all their problems. Everybody, this is demonic and it's from the pit of hell, and it should not be tolerated. Period. But it goes to a structural problem of an entire generation that has economic resentment. They don't own anything. They're not getting married. They're not having children. They're depressed. They're anxious. They're staring at their screens all day long. And if all of a sudden your extrapolation of all that is, well, it's the Jews' fault, that is sloppy and shallow thinking. And not only that, they say, oh, it's the Jews' fault. Okay, let's kind of play this out. Well, tuberculosis, that used to kill about 1 billion people. You know, it's a group of Jewish scientists that came up with the antibiotic that cured tuberculosis. How about CPR, the MRI machine? You know, there's over 500 million lives that were saved over the last 50 years because of people that were Jewish scientists that were working on things. They'll never say thank you to the Jews, but they'll always say shame on the Jews. It's weird how...
Yeah, here he's pointing out the hypocrisy, right? Like, if someone does something amazing, you normally don't attribute it to the entire group, right? You normally don't say, oh, this American scientist did this, therefore America did this, even though, you know, he's in America. And so, you know, something may play a role as far as his location and so on. But you normally don't attribute what someone has done to an entire group or an entire nation. You don't usually do that in the negative sense either. When someone does something bad, you don't normally attribute it to an entire group. But with Jews, you do. You just, and I've seen that over and over again. Look at this. You see the Jews. Look at that. You see the Jews. Again, he's about to go into some very important psychological. He's not using the terminology that I'm thinking of. He sounds like he knows it. He sounds like he's studied this before, and that's interesting. So anyway, here he's just pointing out the hypocrisy. If you're going to say, "Hey, look, Jew did something bad," you see Jews. Well, what about Jews when they come up with some medical breakthrough? Why don't you say, "You see Jews"? You don't. Anyway.
That works. And finally, they always blame the Jews for stuff. Jewish people are an ethnicity, so therefore, definitionally, you have people that are secular, orthodox, religious, that are all over the spectrum. You're trying to blame an entire ethnicity for a singular problem. Hold on, let's take a step back here. Instead of that, what could you possibly do in your own personal life to improve your own state of being? If you are blaming 0.02% of the world's population for all of your problems, that is not going to be good for your soul. It's not.
In psychological terms, what he's describing right here, when you blame someone else for your problems, it's called having an external locus of control. Your locus of control is basically where you assign the main responsibility for your situation in life. In other words, like it's usually just it's internal or external, your locus of control. In other words, if I asked you, as far as your life, how you're doing financially, how you're doing in your relationships, how happy you are, all these things. If I asked you all these questions, I said, what is primarily responsible for your situation in life? Where does the primary responsibility lie? If you say it's something external to you, you know, the system is rigged against you, the system is responsible, something like that, you have an external locus of control. You believe that things outside of yourself have such control over you that they basically decide what's going to happen in your life. If you have an internal locus of control, you believe that you're primarily responsible. Your financial situation, your relationships, your happiness, and so on, you're primarily the one who's responsible for your situation. And you have a weird situation because lots of people would think that if you have an external locus of control, matter of fact, let me read an official definition just because it will help people understand. And it's actually an important concept, which, guys, if you don't take away anything after Erica spoke, and if you don't pay attention to anything after that, because that was definitely going to be the most important part of this live stream. If you don't take away anything after that, pay attention to this. This is massively important, like to the world, not only to you, to the entire world. Let me look up locus of control to give you an official definition. All right. Locus of control is a psychological concept describing the extent to which people believe they have control over the events and outcomes of their lives. Individuals with an internal locus of control believe their actions and efforts determine their successes and failures. Got that? People with an internal locus of control believe their actions and efforts determine their successes and failures, while those with an external locus of control attribute outcomes to external forces like luck, fate, or other people. This concept exists on a spectrum, and a person's locus of control can influence their motivation, behavior, and overall well-being. So now you might think that having an external locus of control will help people feel better, because if they're not doing well or something like that, then, well, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's just these things are beyond your control. It's actually the opposite, because when you're convinced that things that are beyond your control are actually controlling every aspect of your life, it like paralyzes you. You're not motivated. If everything's rigged against you and you can't hope to win, how hard are you going to try, right? Whereas if you think, oh man, I'm not making enough money, I'm a total dirtbag, people don't like me because of the way I act and stuff like this. This is on me. Then you have motivation to actually act and change and strive to make things better, right? So anyway, it's a serious problem that so many people have an external locus of control. And this is an example of it, right? Something went wrong. The Jews, this went wrong. The Jews are controlling the entire world. Well, I mean, my goodness. Everything that goes wrong, and even in our nation, every nation, it doesn't matter. The Jews are controlling the entire system. Well, that is a massive external locus of control. And it may help you feel better, like short term, to blame someone else for everything that you don't like in the world. But it's not psychologically healthy. He's saying it's just bad for your soul. He's saying this is destroying your soul. I wanted to point that out, because guys, you have entire systems that are keeping people convinced that everything is rigged against them, and therefore let me put it this way: manipulators, whether an individual manipulator or a system of manipulation, wants you to have an external locus of control. If you've got a boyfriend who manipulates his girlfriend, he wants his girlfriend to have an external locus of control, namely him. Like, her well-being in life depends on him, and she can't live without him. And when things are going well with him, then she's better off. A manipulator wants whoever he's manipulating to have an external locus of control, and he wants control over it, right? But you have politicians. Politicians want you to have an external locus of control. They want you to believe, I'm not saying all politicians here, but politicians want you to have an external locus of control. They want you to think that these things are all beyond your control, and you can't control these things. You can't control the system. Therefore, you're going to vote for the person who promises to fix the system for you, right? You can't fix the system, and you're powerless. You're powerless against the system because it's rigged against you. And therefore, what can you do? Well, you can't do anything. All you can do is vote for the person who says he's going to take care of that for you. And that's how they keep you under their control. So anyway, That's why I said it's kind of a much bigger issue than this particular issue. But he's pointing out with Israel, if you think Jews are controlling everything, you are psychologically destroying yourself. And you can see the people who go down that road, they start getting crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier. Let's let him finish here.
That is not going to be good for your soul. It's not good for your psychology. It's not good for your future in any way, shape, or form. And so I would just say this, that any young person that goes into this hyper online brain rot, you are serving yourself over to your own demise. You are serving yourself into a suicide mission that will not make you happier and not make you healthier. Instead, here's what your attitude should be. Your attitude should be like, I can't own stuff, I got it, can't own a home, I'm not getting married, I don't know who to date. He said, wow, the challenges are immense. I'm going to now overcome all those challenges and go on an adventure. I'm going to prove everyone wrong. I'm now not going to be a victim. I'm going to be a victor. I'm going to dig deep. This is still a great country. This is a free country. I'm going to use my agency. I'm going to use my ability. And I'm not just going to go point in the corner and be like, I'm overweight because of the Jews. Women don't want to date me because of the Jews. How about this? As Jordan Peterson would say, sit up straight with your shoulders back, follow the rules for life, make yourself interesting, learn something new every single day, and instead of pointing at a small group of people and engaging in this brain rot, become a better person. You'll be a happier and healthier, more joyful and productive person.
So, locus of control, ladies and gentlemen. He just pointed out, if you have he didn't use the words, but if you have an internal locus of control, then even if you know things aren't working out, you should be motivated to change. Wait a minute, I have the ability to change things in my life or in my city or in my family or whatever it may be. I have that ability. And so if things suck, then I'm going to go out and fix them. I'm going to become a better person and fix things, make things better. So keep in mind, the truth is that reality is somewhere in between. In other words, you're obviously responsible for a lot of things in your life, and some things are beyond your control. That's just a reality. You don't control where you're born. You don't control, who your parents are and things like that. You don't control lots of things in your life. You're in a country where you don't control a lot of what happens in your country. But as far as you and your situation in life, your happiness level and so on, what do you think is most responsible for that? It is way, 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 way more psychologically healthy for you if you believe that you are primarily responsible. So whenever someone is convincing you to blame someone for everything you don't like in this world, be on guard. You're probably dealing with a manipulator who wants you to view this person as the one who's going to save you from whatever is controlling everything that's beyond your control, right? So if you have these brilliant puppet masters and I'm just totally powerless, they're controlling the entire world. And then someone says, I'm the one who sees all the plots of the puppet master and I will stop the puppet master. Okay, we'll just go with you. You're the one who's going to save us and so on. You're dealing with a manipulator, guys. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for that stuff. All right, just wanted to get that out of the way. As far as the other stuff, people saying, keep in mind this is not long ago. This is after Candace Owens started going off the deep end and so on. But all the other people saying, but he was turning against Israel. No, he's over the years he has had various criticisms and so on of Israel or of certain things that people have done and so on. He's been an ardent advocate and defender of Israel. So tying into that, if you're thinking, well, the Jews did it, what evidence do you have for that? Other than you just like to blame Jews for everything, right? Like, think, what actual evidence? But he said release the Epstein files. That's why they're killing him. There's tons of people saying release the Epstein files. Are they all killing them? You're going to go with the guy who likes you most, who says release the Epstein files. So anyway, Yeah, the point is, if you're just going to say, here's a hypothetical motivation, so I'm blaming them, guys, you have to, I mean, even Dave Smith just called this out. Dave Smith, I mean, one of the biggest critics of Israel on the planet. He's, guys, stop. If you, he even said it, he said, if you've got a good conspiracy, man, I'll be in on that conspiracy. But you need to have some evidence. And here you just have none. You just have none. It's gotten to the point where you'll just speculate some possible motivation and just go right for it, go all in. What do we actually know? What do we actually know about the shooter? Well, they're going to tell you. We're going to tell you. We're going to check out the press conference here. So this is a press conference right when they announced that they had caught the guy. And we have, I think it's the governor, and then Kash Patel, and then the sheriff. But I don't know if we'll watch all of this. It's not terribly long, so we might watch it all, unless it gets really boring, and then we'll go to some other stuff. But let's check this out.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional...
Oh, hang on. Let me find... Let me see. Here we go. Mr. Rohr says, it's the Mormons this time. Yeah. The guy comes from a Mormon family. The shooter comes from a Mormon family. So if you wanted to blame someone's religion, Mormons not known for, sniping people and so on. They're usually like, what are people's, you can have criticisms of Joseph Smith and stuff, but as far as like when you meet Mormons, it's usually they're knocking on your door to tell you about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And they're normally the nicest. They're normally super nice. They're normally the nicest people you'll meet that day. But yes, this guy does come from a Mormon family. I don't know if I should make a separate video about this or something. I'm going to wait till more information comes in. But I think I have an idea of what was going on in this guy's head. Just because I, too, became extremely violent when I was young. And I think based on some other stuff, people aren't putting this stuff together, but based on some of the other stuff, again, have to wait till more information comes in. I would only really know if I actually sat down and talked to the guy and asked him, is this what was going on in your head? And he would say, if he said, yeah, that was going on in my head, then I would know. But I'll tell you what I think. But let's go and watch some more of this. But yes, the Mormons did it this time. So blame all Mormons. You see, the Mormons are controlling it. Isn't that weird? Guy comes from a Mormon family. You see, the Jews. It's weird. Not the Mormons, right?
Video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th, in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images. Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger.
Hang on, I just want to point out as far as the family. So they're pointing out he was turned in by a family member. A family member contacted I think a friend and said, "Hey, I know who this is. We need to contact the police about this." And so family member turned him in, and as far as them looking into motivations and so on, they said he'd become more political in recent years, and that really didn't like Charlie Kirk, and that this discussion came up at dinner. But notice, if someone starts saying, "Hey, Charlie Kirk's a evil scumbag" at dinner, family dinner and stuff, you're not thinking, "Oh, he's going to climb on a building and shoot him or something like that." It seems like it would be pretty normal, especially at that age, for people to start complaining about things and people they disagree with and so on. But nope, this guy decided to do something more.
Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed that roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel.
So, guys, remember, if you were here earlier, we watched the surveillance footage where he was on top of the building. He ran to the other side of the building, jumps off the building. He had the bag with him at that point, but he stashed things after that at some point. And here he was. I don't know why people do this, but he's sending messages to someone talking about how he is keeping an eye on the area to see when it's clear to go back, because he has to go find that bag before they did. But no, they found the bag. They found the bag first. And so, yep, it's a general rule, ladies and gentlemen. If you've committed some huge crime, do not start sending messages about it to people. I don't know why I'm giving people advice on this. I'm kind of saying, in that respect, that was pretty stupid. And I have to say, this guy's extremely intelligent. He's extremely intelligent, but he's making some rookie mistakes. He had obviously not committed crimes before. He was smart enough to plan all this out, but you make these kind of mistakes if you haven't done things like this before, because you eventually mess up doing things like this, and then you realize, oh, I need to not do that. So anyway, the fact that he's sending messages to his friends about, hey, I have to go get a bag, and yeah, it's got something in it, and so on. I have to check this place out, and I have to figure out a way to go back and get it. Not smart.
The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope and the rifle being unique. Messages from the contact Tyler also mentioned that he had changed outfits. I know there has been speculation as well as to the writing on those casings, those bullet casings, and I believe we have that as well. And I will share that with you now.
It's interesting. There's not a whole lot of evidence to go on as far as what these guys had access to, like, very quickly by the time of this press conference, because they had just caught the guy. And they'd caught the guy, I think, the night before at like 10 o'clock, and then they released this today. But not a lot to go on. It's just like some stuff he had etched into bullets and stuff, and then like some things he was saying about Charlie Kirk at a dinner they have. And as far as like motivations, that's kind of like all people were going on. He'd just become more political in recent years. He was complaining about Charlie Kirk, and then the stuff that he had etched on the bullets, which he's going to talk about here.
So the area north of Campus Drive Road where the suspect crossed over, you saw some of that in the video that we released last night, consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98 .30-6 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices, bulges, capital OWO, what's this question mark. Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist!" exclamation point, "Catch!" exclamation point. Up arrow symbol, right arrow and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow." And a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO." We are indebted to law enforcement across the state who has worked seamlessly together, local law enforcement, state.
I've actually read explanations for what all that stuff means, as far as like some of it is like video game references and stuff, and I don't understand them. The Bella Ciao is, you can look that up yourself, but I'll just read it here. When it first thing that pops up, Bella Ciao is an iconic Italian anti-fascist protest song that became an anthem of the Italian partisans during World War II and is sung today in demonstrations worldwide, including by groups associated with the left and other movements for freedom. So this is associated with anti-fascist movements, hence why people are saying Antifa. And then some of the other stuff, some of the other stuff had video game references, and I'm not sure about that.
Law enforcement and our federal partners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're grateful for everyone who worked together in such a short amount of time to find this person and to bring justice. I want to thank the public who has been so engaged, reviewing.
Hey, there's a few seconds. I think like a 10 or 15 second delay or something like that. Where'd that comment go? Where someone, hang on, where'd it go? Someone was explaining. I saw this too. I still didn't understand what that means. Okay. The Bulge, OWO, is furry community slogan. Furries are those people that dress up like stuffed animals or something like that. Yeah, so we have people are pointing out the Bella Ciao is an Italian Antifa slogan from World War II times. But on the furry thing, like what do you mean? Is there, when you say furry, do you mean like the people who dress up? They have their own language? People are saying yes. Okay. Oh, people are saying trans and furry. People are saying yes. Okay. I didn't know they had their own like code language or something like that, and I still don't understand what it means. Let's see. Oh, I also saw this as far as the arrows. So the arrows were a call in for a 500-kilogram bomb from Helldivers 2. I play that game. So video game code. So for if you're my age and you're playing like the original Nintendo back in the day, that would be like up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, start for Contra. That gave you unlimited lives. It's weird how I can't remember like numbers now, but I still remember the codes from video games when I was a kid. On Ikari Warriors, it was ABBA. That's how you spawned again. And then in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, the code to get directly to Tyson and to skip everyone else, I think was 007-373-5963. Someone can try that. Anyway, so apparently this is video game references. So he's got some Antifa stuff, some furry stuff, and some video game stuff. Sounds like he was in some basically some interesting online communities that he was involved in. And SenseQuest says Contra is the one I remember too. Yeah, you had to use it a lot back then. All right, let's get back to this. By the way, if anyone, I'll glance at I'll check the comments. If anyone has any more info on what any of that stuff means, let me know.
reviewing videos, helping us with sending in tips, and helping us get to this point. I want to thank the family members of Tyler Robinson who did the right thing in this case and were able to bring him into to law enforcement as well. I especially want to thank the family of Charlie Kirk, Erica, Charlie's parents, his children. I want us to be thinking of them as we bring justice in this case. They will be involved in that justice. We will be working very closely with them as we move through this process as well. This is a very sad day for our country, a terrible day for the state of Utah, but I'm grateful that at this moment we have an opportunity to bring closure to this very dark chapter in our nation's history. With that, I will now turn the microphone over to the Director of the FBI, Kash Patel.
Thank you, Governor. This is what happens when you let...
Hey, this guy actually looks normal. Anyone ever see the normal picture he uses? He has like resting crazy face. Anyway, he looks normal. I don't know why he used a picture that, well, I guess you could if you're like in charge of something like, hey, I'm crazy, you know. Anyway.
Thank you, Governor. This is what happens when you let good cops be cops. The FBI and our partners are proud to stand here today together to bring justice to the family of Charlie Kirk and honor his memory. I want to express my deep gratitude to President Trump, the Vice President, and the entire White House who have been so incredibly supportive with both resources and just personally to the FBI as a team. They had our backs the entire way, and I just want to express my gratitude for giving us the resources we need to operate in this space.
I'm sorry for continuing to interrupt, but this is new stuff to me. Too Many Mary says, just catching up, OWO is a furry smiley. The W is supposed to represent a furry smile. I'm trying to see. So what are the O's? Are those cheeks? Are those eyes? I don't know. I'm not getting it. I'll take your word for it.
To bring this sort of justice at this sort of speed. In 33 hours, we have made historic progress for Charlie. Governor Cox, our partnership has been absolutely incredible these last few days. Our partnership will endure. Your state and local partners, your sheriffs, your DPS community has been unbelievably impressive in the hardest of times. And a case like this cannot be solved, cannot be brought without partnering with your state and local authorities. The FBI has a certain role to play, and we will play that role, and we will lead out for the federal government. But Governor Cox, we are so grateful for your state partnership that led out on this investigation. A little bit of the timeline. Charlie was shot at 12:23 p.m. on Wednesday. The first FBI agents arrived on scene in 16 minutes with chiefs of police at 12:39 and secured the scene. The FBI immediately launched fixed-wing assets. We utilized these assets to transport personnel, specialty technicians, hostage rescue teams. We also utilized these assets to go back and forth from the East Coast and here in Utah to transport forensic evidence and other evidence that will be analyzed and is being analyzed at our FBI laboratories in Quantico and other laboratories, including the ATF. At my direction, the FBI released the first set of FBI photos of the suspect at 10 a.m. local time on 9/11. Then, shortly thereafter, the FBI reward of $100,000 was released at 10:45 a.m. local. Myself and Deputy Director Bongino arrived on the scene at approximately 5:30 p.m. on 9/11. The governor led a press conference last night at approximately 8 p.m., where at my direction, the FBI released a never-before-seen video of this suspect. We also released new images to the public of the suspect. And just last night, the suspect was taken into custody at 10 p.m. local time. In less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise, thanks to the full weight of the federal government and leading out with the partners here in the state of Utah and Governor Cox, the suspect was apprehended in a historic time period. And I want to highlight what Governor Cox said.
Hold on. So Trevsky here says OWO equals eyes open, UWU equals eye closed. The W is like a cat's mouth. And then Jacob says, David, it's a nervous face, so it's like a wiggly smile popular in anime. It's in the real of UWU, if you have heard the term uwu. I have not. It refers to that face. Okay, guys, at first I was just interested in what this means because I didn't understand it when they said it. But now I'm actually concerned with how much you guys understand about furry language. Like, how do we have like 200 experts in furry terminology? Some of you are saying it's used for furry and trans stuff, but how? How do you guys know so much about this? This is unless you guys just looked it up. But you guys seem to know an awful lot. I'll just leave it there. Let me go on.
Would not have been possible without you, the media, and you, the public. That's why we went so public, so fast, and we're so transparent, and we're committed to that transparency. The crime scene, just a little bit there. It is a large crime scene. State and local authorities, along with federal authorities, processed that crime scene quickly, and I even had the ability to walk through that crime scene and walk through the steps the suspect took to learn more about what was needed and what resources we needed to bear to create a full picture for the FBI and leadership back in Washington. Furthermore, thankfully to state and local partners, forensic evidence has been seized and continues to be garnered. Forensic evidence has already been evaluated at FBI laboratories in Quantico and state and local authorities here. We will continue to process evidence as we see it, as we collect it, and we will continue to deliver it to Governor Cox and his team. Last night, we had a total of approximately 7,000 leads. As of this morning, thanks to your great work, we have over 11,000 leads that were called in to the FBI. And we are running out every single lead that we can.
There's that 11,000 leads. So people got really, really interested in helping out.
Every one of those leads will be run out. The arrest is a testament to the dedication of good law enforcement being great and partnerships in law enforcement, which I've tried to highlight as my tenure as the director of the FBI. There is no better relationship for law enforcement than the FBI to partner with state and local authorities, and you've seen it here in these last few days. The FBI Salt Lake field office, along with our offices in LA, Phoenix, Denver, San Antonio, Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, our headquarters component in Quantico, all participate in the FBI. I want to express my deep gratitude to the employees of the FBI, the men and women, the evidence response team tacticians, the special operators, the agents, the support staff. You have done monumental work in historic time when the public, who had a right to demand such an expeditious solving of an investigation, the FBI answered that call diligently, critically important to our nation, and we delivered. And I'm proud to be their leader, and I'm proud to be the director of the FBI. This is very much an ongoing investigation, as the governor said, and we will continue to work with state and local authorities to develop the investigation, to provide them the evidence they need for their ongoing prosecutions, and we will be here to answer every call they absolutely have, as long as it takes, for as long as we need to find and apprehend whatever suspects were involved in this crime. Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
Valhalla. Hindus for Valhalla. All right, this guy speaks very briefly. I do like the hat.
Thank you, and good morning. I would just like to take a few minutes as the sheriff to express my gratitude for everybody who has played a part in this investigation. As you know, it's been a vast, a complicated, and a very, very fast-paced investigation. You're looking at people standing up here who are running on, if they got an hour's sleep in the last couple of days, they're probably lucky. It has been very taxing. It has been so.
I've seen multiple people involved commenting on how everyone basically worked around the clock. It's understood. It's especially understood with like kidnappings and stuff. You have a narrow window where someone could just be gone, right? Like you want to catch them as quickly as possible. You don't want to give them 3 days and not catch them, because 3 days they could be like totally gone somewhere. So you want to catch them as quickly as possible. And so, this guy just said if anyone got an hour's sleep, that was a lot for these past couple of days.
Impressive, speaking on behalf of the local law enforcement, to see the cooperation that we've seen in this type of case. Across the state, sheriffs, chiefs, our state partners have stepped up and have come to the call on anything that we needed. Our county chiefs have been phenomenal. Our Utah County Attorney, Jeff Gray, who's standing up here with us, has been phenomenal in leading us through this investigation. I would like to thank the federal government for their resources, their assets. Our local team here, our FBI team, has been extraordinary in helping us work through this and bring this person to justice. Most of all, I would like to thank the public, and specifically, I would like to thank the public who turned to prayers and who turned to positiveness for us. I would like to thank them on behalf of the law enforcement community, because we needed those prayers. That's what we needed to get through this. We needed your support, and you gave it to us. We needed your patience, and you gave it to us. And I would like to thank you for the Kirk family, because that's what they need, is your support and your prayers, and that will get us through all of this. So thank you, everybody, for everybody that have stepped up. We've had such a phenomenal response to this. Thank you.
So that was the briefing earlier today. They did take Q&A and stuff like that, but they gave the main details. And really, there aren't a ton of details, because again, they just caught this guy, and so it's going to take some time. I guarantee you right now, what they're focusing on is, was anyone else involved, right? Like I remember, there was that he was a racist guy, I think in South Carolina years ago, but he went and shot up like teenager, white teenager went in and shot up a black church. And I remember people were complaining afterwards, or saying, hey, there are pictures of police getting McDonald's for this kid as they're having discussions with him and stuff. Why are they getting him McDonald's? Why are they treating him so well? And I'm just thinking, you guys have any clue what these guys are trying to trust me, if you're a police officer with that teenage kid who just shot up an entire church of people, you're not sincere, but you want to come across as that kid's best friend in the world. Why? Because you want to know if someone put him up to that. And so, I mean, if you were a police officer, you'd probably be like, yeah, kid, we actually agree with you. We're in on it. Now tell us who helped you and who got you the weapons and anything like that. If anyone else is involved, because we want to join your movement. You'd be doing something like that, because you want to know, was this kid just a lone wolf who decided to do this, and all of these ideas came from himself, or was he part of an organization, or did an organization manipulate him, or did a person convince him to do this or something? You want to find out all that information. Yeah, Dylan Roof. And so right now, they want to know if he acted alone, if this was all him, or if he was working with someone else, or if someone was giving him the ideas, helping with the planning, anything along those lines. I just looked up to see if there was any more information out so far. Newsweek actually comments on the stuff that we were already discussing. It says, so this is Newsweek's article on this guy. It says, investigators discovered several anti-fascist messages inscribed on bullet casings recovered from the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk. The messages were among the evidence discussed during a press conference. We already checked that out. More details are emerging about the Utah man suspected of carrying out Kirk's assassination, with every new piece of information released by authorities likely to be heavily scrutinized amid increased tensions across the U.S. following the shooting on Wednesday. And here they actually discuss the messages, which you guys have already explained, some of them. Well, you guys have already kind of explained all of them, but let's see if they add anything to the explanations. Cox outlines some of the messages investigators had found on the shell casings linked to the shooting, including one which read, "Hey, fascist, catch." So, I guess with the World War II thing, that's multiple Antifa messages. So, "Hey, fascist, catch," followed by an up arrow symbol, a right arrow symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. The arrow symbols are thought to be a reference to the video game Helldivers 2. That's what you guys already explained. Helldivers 2 is a heavily satirical shooting game in which the player is part of a future version of our planet known as Super Earth, where all of humanity is living under managed democracy. The game has been viewed as a tongue-in-cheek critique of military dictatorships with references to fascism and colonialism. Okay. O Bella Ciao is an Italian song dedicated to resistance fighters during the Second World War who were fighting against occupying Nazi forces. So you say that when you're fighting against Nazis. In recent history, union members in Italy sung the song at conservative Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni as she spoke at a conference in March 2023. Her party, the Brothers of Italy, was founded by followers of former dictator Benito Mussolini as post-fascist movement following World War II. And then here we go. Notices bulges message meaning. Other messages included notices bulges, OWO, what's this? An apparent reference to an internet meme connected with furries, part of the role-playing community. The meme, poking fun at the community, originated around 2013. The OWO refers to an emoji used by furries online as a cutesy symbol. Another message on the casings read, "If you read this, you are gay." All right. So that says pretty much everything you guys were telling me. Hey, can everyone, can someone check on this real quick? I saw it, but it was just on Twitter. I saw his ACT scores reported. But I don't trust everything that just pops up on Twitter, right? Because people post all kinds of things. Like, it's an ongoing problem. I mean, the guy's named Tyler Robinson, right? That's a common name. And now everyone's pulling up anything that has the name Tyler Robinson in it as part of any group. You could pick any group right now you wanted. Any group that you want to blame as behind this, you can look up a Tyler Robinson as part of that group and then say, you see, we found Tyler Robinson listed as part of this group. This proves that it's this group. When you can probably find a Tyler Robinson as part of anything. But anyway, so I don't trust stuff, especially when it's just coming out. And we've seen people over and over again already posting stuff. I mean, Anonymous, like that hacker channel. They posted a totally photoshopped picture of him in a Trump shirt. And then people showed, no, here's the original picture. And it was just him in like a red shirt. And so anyway, people do stuff like that right after these, and it spreads around real quick. But as far as his ACT scores, so that's like the alternate to the SAT, he was 99th percentile. So he was in the top percentile. And I saw that he was a straight A student, and Just Me posted he was an honor student that was given a $32,000 scholarship. So anyway, Can anyone look up real quick and verify if those are actually, it kind of fits. If he's a straight A student and was given a big scholarship, he probably rocked his ACT. But can anyone just check that? Because that's actually important. If he was 99th percentile on the ACT, which is like kind of a more advanced SAT because it tests you on more subjects than just like the math and verbal that the SAT tests you on. So if he was 99th percentile on that, which, by the way, is what I was. Let's see, hang on. Brenda says, no, he was in the 1%. His ACT was 34. Yeah, top 1%, right? Top 1% is 99th percentile. And ACT goes up to 36, but that doesn't mean you have to get a 36. It's what do people get? And 99th percentile would be like something like 34 or something like that on that, because it's only the top percentile. So is that verified? Have people verified that? What do you got? What are you guys saying? His ACT was 2. What are you guys talking about? What is a 2 on the ACT? Oleg says, what's ACT, David? It's I forget what it stands for. Carol says the ACT is for people who could never do the SAT. No, it's some schools prefer one or the other. So, and some schools will accept one or the other. I think the ACT is actually better because it tests you on other subjects, again, other than just math and verbal. Yes, Steph S says 34 and top 1%. So 99th percentile. 99th percentile means you're in the top percent. Okay. Why is that relevant? Again, that's what I got. So I'm going to give you my theory because we do not have a lot to go on this guy. He's young. He got a scholarship to college. He was a straight A student. He was in the top 1 percentile on his ACT. Got a scholarship to college, started college, then left college after his first year and decided to go into some sort of electrician apprenticeship or something like that. He went to like a school to learn to become an electrician or something like that. And then he tries to murder. Well, he does murder. He decides to murder and decides to murder Charlie Kirk. So that's pretty much all we know. And he had some various slogans on the bullets. And he was, he had a discussion at dinner where he was saying he really didn't like Charlie Kirk. So as far as understanding this guy's thinking, again, I would have to actually talk to him, but this stuff might actually come out, if I had to guess, just because I'm also a person who went in a violent direction when I was younger. This guy comes from a Mormon family and seemed like a nice family. All the pictures of them are all like nice family pictures. Nice Mormon family. They liked guns. They went to gun shows and stuff like that. I'm going to tell you about growing up and repeatedly being the smartest kid in class and always thinking, well, I'm even smarter than these teachers. They may know more, but they're stupid compared to me, right? If this guy had an ego, because here's the thing, guys. If you're like the smartest kid and you're always like the smartest kid in class, you start thinking, why am I listening to anyone else? I'm smarter than everyone else. If you always feel like you're the smartest person, you get this attitude over time. Why am I listening to anyone else? Why does anyone else get to tell me what to do? Who do they think they are? I'm smarter than all these people. And they're sitting here giving me all these rules. that I have to follow and telling me what to do and telling me what to think and telling me what to believe. And then someone like this gets to a certain age, which can be 15, 16, and so on, where that's where you start questioning everything you've been told. So when you're young, you just go with what your parents tell you and stuff. Then as you're getting older, it's like, wait, my parents just, wanted to check out my homework and they don't even understand this stuff. Wait a minute, I'm smarter than my parents. How am I smarter than I'm smarter than my parents and I'm 12 years old. What's going on here? So why am I listening to my parents? Why am I taking what they say seriously? Why am I taking Mormonism seriously? Why? We're Mormons, but why? Because my parents believed it? I'm way smarter than them. I'm the smartest kid around. I'm straight A's. I'm top percentile. I'm huge scholarship. I'm smarter than everyone. And the wheels start turning in your head and you just develop more and more contempt for the idea that any of these people get to tell you what to do. And I have to say, if you start college and it's just, why am I doing this? I'm going to go I'm going to go do a trade or something like this. But you're already a narcissist by that point. Like this guy maybe just a complete narcissist. If he always felt like he was the smartest person around, he doesn't have to listen to anyone. What am I going to do? Am I going to become an electrician? Am I not meant for something far, far more important? Should I not be famous? Why am I going to go be an electrician? I'm the smartest person around. Why am I going to spend the rest of my life as an electrician? Why am I going to follow this pattern that we're all just supposed to follow, where we're born and then we play with little toys and then we spend years in school and then we spend a few years in college and then we go off and get a job and then we work 40 years and we get a family and then we get old and we die? Why am I going to follow that pattern? Oh, that's what everyone tells me I have to do. Why am I listening? Why would I listen to anyone else? Why? I'm the smartest one around. I'm the greatest thing there is. Why? Why do this? Why not just do whatever I want to do? And why not do something big and spectacular as I should be doing because I'm super important? If you think Charlie Kirk is a evil person, but he's got security, kind of a challenge for you. Am I the one who's actually smart enough to pull this off? If anyone can do it, I can do it. And therefore, good challenge for me. See if I can do this. And if I get caught, well, I'll be remembered for doing something spectacular. And if I don't get caught, my goodness, how smart am I? I'm legend status. So anyway, we know very little about this guy, but if I had to guess based on the little information that we have right now, I would guess something like that. He grew up, he was the smartest kid in all his classes. Things came easily for him, much more difficult for everyone else. He decides over time that he is superior to everyone, and yet he's expected to live according to the rules that everyone else has imposed upon him. He realizes, I'm about to be locked into a normal life. I don't want to be locked into a normal life. I don't want a normal life. I would rather do something else, and something big and spectacular that no one else can do. And so I think that's how you got this guy. But more information will come out. I'm just saying it now because that kind of makes sense to me. you got I say here saying, man, you're making me glad I'm a dummy. Yeah, I mentioned this before, but Immanuel Kant said that the only thing that is good without qualification is a good will, meaning a will that is geared towards the good. Why? Because everything else can actually be bad if it's connected to a bad will. So you take something like intelligence. Well, intelligence is normally it's a good thing. It's a good thing to be smart. What if it's a evil person who wants to do evil things? What if it's a narcissist who also happens to be extremely intelligent? Well, that person's going to do some bad things and probably get away with doing a lot of bad things. And so intelligence can be bad. Money. You normally think money's it's good to have wealth. It's good to be able to, even if you want to just contribute to charity or something like that, provide for your family and so on, normally a good thing. What if it's an evil person who can use that money for really evil purposes and so on? So anyway, just wanted that out there because as more information comes out, maybe we'll learn more, but we'll see. We'll see if I'm right. Let's go ahead and check out another video clip here. This was after, well, this was released after trying to find out if this is, no, I think this is recorded before they caught the guy, but this is about Charlie Kirk. But Dave Rubin, who was friends with Charlie Kirk, had a discussion with Chunk Yogurt on Piers Morgan. So I haven't watched it. I got the clip, but let's see what's going on here.
As somebody who used to identify quite happily as a liberal, I found myself completely disassociated from the woke left in a way I just never thought possible, where people on supposedly my side would start to become science deniers, biology deniers, but also develop this incredibly hateful mindset that if you didn't go along with everything that they believed, you would be cancelled, you'd be destroyed, you'd be shamed, you'd be vilified. And now, as we've seen with Charlie Kirk, you will actually be murdered in cold blood simply for having opinions that they don't like. It is, as I said at the start of this, it's unnerving. It's quite scary, actually. And when you see those TikTok videos of them so proudly talking about this, joyously celebrating a murder like that, I really do fear about what is going on.
It is pretty bad, and I'm glad Pierce is pointing this out because one, yeah, now people want to kill you. Guys, this is a guy who's literally there to have debates, right? Hey, if you want to prove me wrong on anything, there's the microphone. Step up to the mic. If you disagree with me, prove I'm wrong. That should have been the test for this Tyler guy, right? Tyler, if you think this guy's a fascist and you're anti-fascist and so on, what are you going to do? You're super smart, Tyler. What are you going to do? Step up to the mic, dude. Step up to the mic. Show everyone how smart you are. That's what you should be doing. Not, oh, I can pull off his murder and get away with it and be smart enough to get away with it. So there's that. And then as Pierce continued, it's not just that. It's not just that there are people like that who now want to kill you for even having these discussions. Now it's also everyone's celebrating it. And I've seen tons and tons and tons of the online celebrations already. But I mean, just people, think if you just went 10 years ago, most people who even supported it would probably try to keep that to themselves. Now they just blast it all over TikTok. Yay, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened. Really creepy stuff. So, I mean, think about this. You can have security. You can be wearing body armor and be surrounded by thousands of people, and you are not safe on a college campus if you're on the wrong side of some issue. That should be pretty darn creepy.
Well, Piers, it's not even that it's about his actual opinions. It's about the opinions that many thought leaders on the left purport that he has, which are complete lies. So look, I am in somewhat of a reconciliatory mode here. So I'd like to ask Cenk, I have 10 headlines here he has put up about Charlie Kirk. They are on his channel right now, and let's see if Cenk believes that these are true. Charlie Kirk says prominent black women took white people's spots. Charlie Kirk boasts about his all-white basketball team. Charlie Kirk gives piggish advice to high school girls. Ex-employee exposes Charlie Kirk's grift. Charlie Kirk embarrasses himself. Charlie Kirk's brain melts explaining anti-vax conspiracy. Charlie Kirk rants about women in their 30s. Charlie Kirk has literally no clue how the real world works. Charlie Kirk gets triggered, declines appearance over pronouns. Charlie Kirk doubles down on women-hating backlash. I am telling you, Piers, Charlie Kirk was one of the best human beings I ever met. He did not have a bone of racism, misogyny, or anything else in his body. But liars lie, and they gin up otherwise good people. From the little bit we know about this shooter, he had a stable household, he was going to college, he was fine. We'll find out where he got radicalized. But please, please, let's not pretend we don't know where this stuff is coming from. And please, let's not pretend that this thing is going both ways, because it is absolutely not. I also have, well, you know what, Cenk?
That was interesting. So he's pointing out how Charlie Kirk, he's saying, I know Charlie Kirk. I know Charlie Kirk. He's an awesome guy. He doesn't hate people. He's not a racist. What's he interested in? If you disagree with him, let's get together and have a discussion so we actually learn to communicate and not just hate each other. These all seem like good things. And then he went down a list of how, like, headlines about Charlie Kirk, everything is describing him as basically a misogynistic Nazi. Basically, that's how he's described by his critics. And that's just wild. So the idea there is, this is how you radicalize some young guy. I did want to point out, because lots of people are saying he got radicalized in college and so on. Again, he only went 1 year to college before he went into some sort of apprenticeship as an electrician or something like that. It would be pretty surprising if someone got radicalized, politically radicalized, as an electrician apprentice or something like that. That would be kind of weird. And he spent 1 year in school. It's always possible. Anyway, it's just, we're going with probabilities here. So it's always possible he got radicalized his first year in college, or before, or in the apprenticeship or something like that. All that is possible. I would guess he got radicalized online. I would guess he's just in some dangerous online communities and so on, talking back and forth. And then people are really, really, really hate Charlie Kirk at some point, and then he decides he can do something about it.
Because it is absolutely not. I also have, well, you know what, Cenk, I'll ask you a question directly, actually. Do you think Charlie wanted to be martyred? Do you think Charlie wanted to be martyred? Do you think Charlie wanted to be killed? Yes or no?
Of course not. What kind of asinine question is that?
You don't? Because that's pretty interesting. Because here's a video of you, Cenk, talking when Charlie was at a breakfast.
It allows for easy martyrdom for these guys, and they don't deserve it. But I do also want to point out, as they're in the middle of crying now, although Charlie was smiling ear to ear throughout the entire video, thinking, yes, I'm now the victim, and I'll get to claim that my rights have been
infringed. Did you catch the beginning of that, Cenk? Listen, we'll do it again.
No, I didn't, and that's totally out of, no, we're not going to do it again. Totally out of context.
So there, it sounds like Dave Rubin is saying, so he asked Chunk Yogurt, do you think he wanted to be martyred? Chunk Yogurt says, of course not. Who wants to be martyred? And then he plays a clip of Chunk Yogurt sometime in the past describing Charlie Kirk as someone who wants something to happen to him so he can be a victim. Let's see.
Don't deserve it.
You don't? Because that's pretty interesting. Because here's a video of you, Cenk, talking when Charlie was at a breakfast.
Okay, this is Charlie Kirk at a breakfast, and Chunk is describing it and saying he was smiling ear to ear. Let's see.
For easy martyrdom for these guys, and they
easy martyrdom.
You don't? Because that's pretty interesting. Because here's a video of you, Cenk.
Sorry, I'm replaying it. Maybe you caught it. Maybe you caught it perfectly. I didn't catch everything, so I'm replaying this for myself.
Talking when Charlie was at a breakfast.
It allows for easy martyrdom for these guys, and they don't deserve it. But I do also want to point out, as they're in the middle of crying now, although Charlie was smiling ear to ear throughout the entire video, thinking, yes, I'm now the victim, and I'll get to claim that my rights have been infringed.
Did you catch the beginning of that, Cenk?
Oh, yeah, so, yeah, that's Chunk Yogurt. That's Chunk Yogurt. And Chunk is obviously, he started saying this is out of context or something like that. But Chunk Yogurt saying, see, these guys want to be martyrs. They want to be victims so they can point out and say how everyone is against them and so on. And basically saying Charlie wanted to be a martyr.
Listen, we'll do it again.
No, I didn't, and that's totally out of, no, we're not going to do it again. Totally out of context. I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
No. Listen, brother.
Are you trying to get harm
for
on
1
me?
second.
Is that what you're trying to do, you loser? Jesus Christ.
No. I'm trying to
do conciliation,
exactly
except
what
this
people
guy,
like you
look at the last two things of your last two guests said.
Piers.
Jesus,
no,
man.
what they
You
said
guys are
was, yes,
unbearable.
we should have reconciliation, but it is not without any contrition, right? It's not without a mea culpa. Charlie was accosted by Antifa at a breakfast in Philadelphia, and the video that I just played is...
Oh, okay. So Charlie was attacked. I'm not familiar with this. I haven't been, again, I've seen some clips of Charlie Kirk over the, probably over the last year or something like that. Mainly paid a little more attention to him after he contacted AP and invited AP, and then I watched that interview and stuff like that. But apparently he was attacked by Antifa, and Chunk Yogurt was saying that's what he wants. He wants to be attacked so he can be the victim and he can be the martyr. So yeah, that's pretty rough.
They said was, yes, we should have reconciliation, but it is not without any contrition, right? It's not without a mea culpa. Charlie was accosted by Antifa at a breakfast in Philadelphia, and the video that I just played is you with a cartoon of him as Charlie Brown saying that he would love to be martyred so he could be the victim. Well, I guarantee you, his wife, who now doesn't have a husband, and his kids who don't have fathers, did not want him to be martyred.
What you just played isn't what
It's exactly what you said, brother. It's exactly.
He literally just played it. I mean, unless you want to say he made AI, he did this AI. Anyone think Dave Rubin just made up that clip and ran Chunk Yogurt's voice through some AI generator to make him say that? He even showed which video it was from.
Said it was.
Let's do it again.
No, it isn't.
We just
heard it. We just heard it.
It's not.
All right, so
it's not.
Okay, no,
let's do it again.
Cut this crap out.
Come on,
no,
we'll do it again.
Piers, can we talk about reality? This is something he's going back to like 10 years.
Well, I think Cheng should be allowed to respond.
What I said there.
And they don't deserve it.
It allows for easy martyrdom for these guys, and they don't deserve it. That was when Antifa was going after him at a breakfast in Philadelphia.
Okay, so let's let Cheng respond to that.
No, that was about words, you moron. Okay, Jesus Christ, man. All right, so now let's get to reality, okay? Shut up.
There's a massive loss here on a human.
Chunk Yogurt saying that was about words, but I mean, what were the words? You're saying basic. To be fair, Chunk, I don't think Chunk was saying he wants to actually be martyred in the sense of being killed. Sounds like he's saying he loves being attacked because that kind of just proves him right. That's what it sounds like he was saying. And when people attack him, he actually loves it. He wants to be attacked. He wants to be assaulted and so on, because this kind of proves that he's the good guy and other people are the bad guys and so on. And what happens when someone kills him? Well, you're the one saying he wants to be attacked. And so it just went a little farther than what he wanted, right? But now Chunk's denying it.
Level of a very bright, successful young man who, like you said, he didn't smoke, he didn't take drugs, he wasn't a party guy. He was committed to his beliefs, and he was committed to, spreading the word of his beliefs, but also allowing people to debate with him about those beliefs. That's what a democratic society should be about. And yet here he is now, dead at 31, because somebody was incapable of listening to his beliefs without wanting to kill him.
Yeah, Piers, look, this is a guy, I don't talk about it that often. I happen to be gay. It's not a big deal. I've been married for over 10 years.
Aha. So hang on. He's friends. He was good friends with Charlie Kirk, and he's gay. So obviously, this bigot, Charlie Kirk, would absolutely despise Dave Rubin, right? Let's see.
And I've sat with Charlie and my husband and his wife and talked about marriage and talk about the differences there and all of those things. And we talked it out. That's what Charlie was great at. I do have to say, though, on the political side of this, for where this conversation has got heated, it seems to me that everyone agrees that Donald Trump is not Hitler and his supporters are not Nazis. So with that in mind, I'd like to read some other headlines. These are video titles from Cenk's channel. And if in the spirit of reconciliation, maybe he wants to delete these things. Trump cuts anti-Nazi program. Trump spreading Nazi propaganda. Nazis encouraged by Trump's Charlottesville response. Trump Trump defends Nazis, very fine people. That is the biggest political hoax ever. Trump retweets a neo-Nazi again. Trump disappoints neo-Nazi supporters. So these things don't come out of nowhere.
Now, this is interesting. He's saying, hey, we all agree that, with Trump support, you're not really Nazis, right? We all agree on that. And yet he's talking about like the headlines and so on that are used to describe. And it's all, everything's a Nazi, everything's a Nazi, everything's a Nazi. Everyone you disagree with is a Nazi. Well, do you want to have discussions with Nazis, or do you understand they're so evil that you just want to crush and destroy them? I guess that's the point. If you want to end discussion, just label your opponent a Nazi, and then you don't have to prove them wrong because you've just shown that they're evil by labeling them a Nazi.
I only blame one person at the end of the day for these murders, which is the crazy person who does the murders. But pretending that what is wildly asymmetrical, I think I have laid that out with evidence here, pretending that it's symmetrical is deeply, deeply dangerous. Piers, you know this because we've discussed it on my show. Even on your show, you have found it way more difficult to find rational, decent people on the left who will explain themselves thoughtfully and calmly and everything else, while the panoply of people you get on the right who shouldn't even be on the right, I would say certainly someone like me, I don't know exactly where Batya considers herself, but people with a variance of political opinions that now broadly are part of the MAGA thing is because of what I just read you, the endless hysteria of the left that has ginned up people to do crazy things. It's not to say you can't say the worst things. You want to say the worst things? Donald Trump's a Nazi. It's so tough to say. You want to say that? Go ahead and say it. It falls on the person who pulls the trigger. But if we're all sitting here saying, yeah, it's not true that Donald Trump's a Nazi and it's not true that his supporters are Nazis and he's not Hitler and all of those things, well, then before you get to reconciliation, a little bit of a mea culpa by some of us might be valuable.
Interesting. I think he's talking about Chunk Yogurt there. Saying, Chunk, if you're sitting here, and again, these are just portions of the full discussion. Dave Rubin posted this separately, so I took the video that Dave Rubin posted. So there's a longer discussion that'll be on Piers Morgan. It sounds like he's saying, Chunk Yogurt, you're the one who's been saying all this stuff for years, and this is how you describe people. And when we're sitting here asking you, do you actually think these are Nazis? Oh, you say no, and yet look at the content you produce over the years. You keep saying it.
Shank?
Yeah, I mean, look at this. This is disgusting. So this guy pretending to do conciliation. And
Wait, Chunk, what are you saying? That him describing you in this way is evil and disgusting? You think he's not describing you accurately and that's evil and disgusting? Dude. I mean, talk about hypocrisy. So if Chunk Yogurt disagrees with someone, he can describe them as the most evil person in the world. But if anyone simply points out, hey, Chunk, you're saying you don't believe that these guys are Nazis, and yet look at how you've described them over the years. Can't you just say, hey, I was wrong? And then it's, no, what you're doing is evil and unacceptable. How dare you? It's like, how do you not get it, man?
I was going to be conciliatory towards Dave if I spoke first. But apparently, that's not what he's doing at all. So what he's trying to do is get people angry in a misleading way against me. Are you trying to get
those
people
your
to be
titles?
violent?
Are those the titles
this
of your
is
videos?
disgusting.
Oh.
So, no. Let me
I thought those, see, I didn't know if he was talking about specifically Chunk Yogurt's videos or if he was just talking about various headlines and tweets and stuff like that from other people. Yeah, so all those things about Charlie Kirk and so on, and about conservatives being Nazis or something like that, that's actually apparently, based on what Dave just said, from Chunk, who's saying, no, I don't believe that stuff. I'm trying to be a nice guy, trying to get along. Hey, let's be conciliatory. And he's saying, look at how you've described everything. Look, in other words, people like Chunk are the ones who are responsible for radicalizing people online.
Let me explain.
Those are your titles,
No,
buddy.
let me explain. You're asking me a goddamn question, so let me explain while you're trying to get people to do violence against me.
Whoa! Oh my goodness, did you catch that? If you point out what Chunk has been doing and how he's been describing people all these years, you are trying to get people to do violence against Chunk Yogurt. Did y'all just catch that? If you're making me look bad and sound bad, you're basically trying to get people to be violent against me. You're trying to get them to kill me. Hey, Chunk, what do you think about anyone who disagrees with you? They're all evil. They're Nazis. They're killing everybody. They're going to kill everyone. They're going to destroy the entire world unless we stop them somehow. Oh, so one of them just got shot? Nothing to do with me.
Disgusting. So those are 80% of those titles. I've never called Trump a Nazi, and those titles were about neo-Nazi reactions. So what do you want us to do? Not tell you what's actually happening? And so look,
did Donald Trump side with neo-Nazis?
Yes, he did say that.
So in Charlottesville.
So
Piers, how about you handle this one instead of giving it to me? Piers,
can I just talk? So this monster is trying to egg on violence.
What did Donald Trump say after
this monster, Dave Rubin? Dave, right now you should go, oh, you're calling me a monster just because I'm gay? That's what you're supposed to do to Chunk Yogurt, Dave.
And he won't even let me talk.
I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis or the white supremacists who should be condemned completely. It's the biggest debunked conspiracy theory of all time. You're still pushing that now? You're still pushing the very fine people hoax now? I'm shocked even for you.
Dave, shut up and let me answer your stupid question. So on that day, which now we're going back to that for no goddamn reason.
This is why Pierce keeps getting Chunk Yogurt on. It's easy to get this guy to throw a tantrum.
Other than you're trying to get people angry at me for misleading things.
I'm reading your titles. You should be angry at your titler.
He just said, I'm reading these are your titles, dude.
Shut up and let me answer. So did he say there are very fine people on both sides? He did. So that's a fact. Now, who was he referring to? As we've explained on the Young Turks, he might have been referring to the people who were in favor of the Confederacy and came out there to support Confederate generals. I didn't find that to be any better. Those people were in favor of slavery. Those people lynched black people. So I'm not going to ever cheerlead for them, and I'm not ever going to shut
Jake,
up
in the very next sentence, did he say, I'm not talking about the white supremacists
so
or
you're
the
not going to get me
neo-Nazis
to
who should be
shut
condemned
up,
totally.
and you are against speech, and you're the one trying to smear people. So let me be super clear, and let me outrage everyone on all sides, and then try to bring people together.
The Rubin Report. Now, that was just some excerpts, so it's possible that maybe Chunk came out with some powerful responses. I seriously doubt it. Looked like he was getting absolutely crushed there by a guy who is very intelligent, a great communicator, and is clearly pissed off that his friend was just murdered. Rough stuff. But anyway, you guys might want to check out the rest of that discussion. I'll probably check out the rest of that. Again, I didn't even know there was. I didn't see that they had a discussion on Piers Morgan Uncensored, but the discussion with Dave Rubin popped up, so I grabbed that. But yeah, looks like it was an interesting discussion, and they had other people. I think I saw Konstantin Kisin down on there as well. So I'm sure he had some. Konstantin's awesome, man. They've been doing some really cool stuff over on Trigonometry. So if you're not following Trigonometry, definitely want to check that out. Let's check out something else. This time from Young Bob. Guys, remember Young Bob? Just want to point out, see, there's not just Turning Point in the US. There's Turning Point UK. And one of the awesome things that I don't know why more people can't figure this out, but somehow Charlie Kirk did. Charlie Kirk, for some reason, was able to get the attention of young people. And Young Bob is one of the youth ambassadors. If you're not familiar with Young Bob, we had him on a while back. But Young Bob, interesting, young guy, Christian, autistic, but really high-functioning autistic, and it actually helps him, right? He gets like laser focused on an issue, and no one can pull him off the issue and stuff like that. He's super smart. But yeah, he was the youth. He's the youth ambassador for Turning Point UK. Youth ambassador for Turning Point UK. So he's going around on college campuses and so on. And kind of sucks. He's already been kicked out of his home, even though I think he's 17. I'm guessing he found a place to stay or something like that. But yeah, as of the end of August, he was going to be homeless because he found some place he could stay until the end of August and so on. I'll go ahead and ask him. Go ahead and ask him how he's doing and stuff, and if he's got some place. Because if not, then we'll figure out a way to help him. But here's young Bob at a vigil for Charlie Kirk, and then we're going to look at another clip from young Bob. And I have these clips specifically because young Bob is asked, not in this clip, but in the next clip, hey, if people are getting violent, is this time to get violent then? Let's check that out. And I've seen that question pop up a lot, and young Bob gives a good answer. So let's check out this first clip from the vigil. This is young Bob, ladies and gentlemen. And again, we're watching this because he makes an important point that a lot of people are bringing up, but also he's the youth ambassador for Turning Point UK. Here we go.
Stands in the legacy of Charlie Kirk. He stood on a platform of civil discourse, and we cannot stop to continue that civil discourse when our opposition will not meet us on the tent, but rather shoot at us. I have done stands at Camden Town, and whenever you do a stand, you potentially consent to your political opposition being the thing by which you die by. And I guarantee you, I have seen the United Kingdom, the radical left have been persecuting the conservatives who have one clear message. We want to conserve our culture and our heritage. We will not import a culture that killed Charlie Kirk. We will continue in civil discourse. We will continue his work. We will pick up the megaphones, the microphones, the stands. They won't be able to move our minds by an inch, because I guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, I will continue to speak up at university campuses. I will continue to speak up in the streets.
Gosh, man. Young Bob, man. Young Bob. 17. And totally unstoppable already. I bring that up because, guys, if you've got someone like young Bob who's an absolute just beast. I mean, guys, watch the videos of him at Speaker's Corner. The Dawa guys now, they just call the cops on him and say, he's harassing us, because they cannot debate him. He crushes them. And humiliates them. And you have any idea, if you've been a Dawa guy at Speaker's Corner debating for 25 years and some 17-year-old shows up and embarrasses you, do you have any idea how much they hate him? So we see what just happened to Charlie Kirk. Those of you in the UK, if you're in the UK, anything you can do to help young Bob and make sure he's safe, make sure you do that. So if you're over there, find out if he has a place to stay. And if you're a strapping lad, and you know young Bob is going to be in your area or something like that, make sure he's got some strapping lads around him to keep away anyone who might want to harm him, because they've already attacked him repeatedly. Let's watch another clip from young Bob.
I'm here with young Bob, who is a youth ambassador for TV UK. We're at the Charlie Kirk vigil right now. Horrible scenes, obviously, that we saw in Utah, wasn't it?
Oh, hang on. I just wanted to point out, where'd that go? Oh, I lost the comment. Oh, here it goes. Forest Dweller says, I used to think young Bob was Bob the Builder's son. Yeah, lots of people think that just because it was a name. I asked him about it, and I thought it was just, I thought people started calling him that because he like followed in Bob's footsteps, but he said it started off as like a like a racial thing, like like hey, here's another white guy at Speaker's Corner crushing the Muslims. So they started mocking him by saying, "Oh, it's Young Bob. Oh, look, it's Young Bob." But the name actually stuck, and so he just rolled with Young Bob. Anyway, let me back this up just to catch the question.
Who is a youth ambassador for TV UK? We're at the Charlie Kirk vigil right now. Horrible scenes, obviously, that we saw in Utah, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's just the inhumanity. We have a generation of people that are prone to watching beheading videos online. So the response on the left is very vindictive of the online radicalization on the left. And it deeply made me upset just seeing a man that was almost an immutable figure within Republican politics then just suddenly, unfortunately, die due to a bullet.
Do you think this feels to me and to other people like there may have been a sea change in that someone who was not an elected politician, someone who in many ways was quite moderate in the way he tackled politics, he believed in debate, and because of believing in debate, he lost his life and now been martyred. Do you think that there is perhaps now a potentially dangerous shift that we may have to fight back against towards normalizations of political violence?
Did you catch the question? It's, do you think we may have to be retaliating now? In other words, if we're not allowed to have discussions anymore, if we're not allowed to just calmly discuss it and people are just going to attack us, do you think we need to fight back? Check out Young Bob's answer.
I think is this. Charlie Kirk died on a platform of civil discourse. If we then become radicalized and become emotional and do what Charlie Kirk's perpetrator did, that therefore demonstrates that they've won and that moderation has been thrown out of the park when it comes to the conservative movement. We're a common sense group of individuals that all believe in civil discourse and demonstrating that our opposition doesn't have any position to argue with. So then if we're then moved to attacking our oppressors, what does that therefore make us? Just like them.
He's saying basically this is what Charlie was against the route of violence. And so Bob has asked, well, if they're getting violent and we aren't allowed to have the discussions, then do we need to get violent too? And he's saying, if you do that, then then things are broken down and they win because they don't want to have the discussions. And so if you say, okay, fine, we're not going to have the discussions, you just gave them what they want. And it turns into a fight. Now, to be clear, this does not mean you don't have to deal with violent people or lock them up or things like that. Not saying any of that. He's saying, no, we don't need to start going out and going on killing sprees against people we disagree with. So, Young Bob. And I saw some people asking if he has a YouTube channel. He's mostly on other people's channels, people who record him doing stuff and so on. The best place to find Young Bob, I mean, he has a website and so on, but if you want to follow Young Bob, go on X, type in Young Bob, and you can get his channel there. And he posts regularly on Twitter. He posts video clips regularly and so on. But he also has links to where else you can find him. So yeah, definitely want to follow Young Bob. So by the way, this is part of the reason for the hostility towards Charlie Kirk. He was getting young people excited in the U.S., but not just in the U.S. It was spreading. It was spreading. It's already in the U.K. I don't know if it's in other countries as well. But if you don't want civilization safe from destruction, then you got to destroy someone like Charlie Kirk, right? Because you're going to end up with a bunch of young Bobs and things like that. And we talked about this. We talked about this, I think, the other day. The founding fathers of the United States. People have lost sight of this. They just think of these rights as these things, and we've got these rights like freedom of speech, freedom of expression, right to bear arms. We've got all these rights, and these are the rights that we absolutely must have, and it's great that we have them. And we can do whatever we want with them. The founding fathers said, and across the board, they were saying, we can have these rights because we have a certain kind of population, a population now that can handle these responsibly. We have rights. We can have these rights because we have a population that will deal with them responsibly. Yes, there will be people who do bad things and so on, and we can punish those. We can punish people who do bad things. But we have a population that has some level of self-control. And this is similar to Francis Schaeffer said this, and this is like his main point from his books. It's either in a society, your population either has to be controlled from within or from without. I mean, on the level of individuals, you either have to have self-control. In other words, you're controlled, but it's because you have self-control. Or you're going to have to be controlled from without. Someone is going to have to control you. So you can have all kinds of freedoms if you have a level of self-control to handle those freedoms responsibly. If you don't, the founding fathers said this is all going to break down. The system will break down. In other words, if you see your freedom as, I've got the freedom to do this, therefore I can do whatever I want with that freedom, they're saying the system is not going to work. Society is going to break down and it's going to be replaced with something. And Francis Schaeffer was saying, at the end of the day, it's basically you have these freedoms because you have a basically Christian population that encourages virtue and encourages you to be good. And if you have a population that believes those things, you can have these freedoms because you can handle them responsibly. So in America, it was Christianity. It could be something different in a different place or something like that. But in America, it was we have a basically Christian population. And we've got people and they're going to church and they're raised with certain values, and people with these values, you can have these freedoms because you're not just going to use them for any like twisted thing that pops into your head. Well, what happens all these years later? Matter of fact, John Adams, he said, our Constitution was made for a moral and religious people. It will not work for anyone else. In other words, it won't work. If you take a bunch of horrible people and give them the same freedoms, it's going to end in disaster. And again, Francis Schaeffer had this position that ultimately in America, it's either Christianity or it's going to be a tyranny. It's Christianity or tyranny. Christianity or tyranny. What's the point of the Christianity? It's not that you have to be a Christian or something like that. It's for the population to have the level of self-control and to have enough virtue in it that you can handle these freedoms responsibly. Okay, then you can have these freedoms and the system will work. If you turn away from that and you start glorifying depravity and every weird thing that pops into your head, it's not going to work. Society's going to break down. But guess what? Society's not just going to fall apart and become an anarchy. A tyrant will take over. A tyrant of one, a tyrant of the many, or something like that. But a tyranny, you're going to end up with a tyranny. Why? Because when given the choice between complete anarchy, every man for himself, or a tyranny, people will side with the tyrant. People will choose a tyrant over anarchy. And so if things start breaking down, when people find out they're breaking down, they're going to accept a tyrant. They will gladly choose a tyrant over anarchy. So here's what you have. We're kind of in the middle right now. We've still got the rights, but now we have tons of people who are using them for any sick thing that pops into their head. And so the system is starting to break down. We're seeing it. And you have people who want the system to break down. You have people who want the entire system to break down because they want to replace it with something else. So this is your communists, your socialists, your jihadis. These are groups that want the system to break down because they want to replace it with a communist state, an Islamic state, something else. So they want it to break down. And then you have the people like Charlie Kirk who, no. We want the system to work, but for the system to work, we need a return to the things that made the system work. So we need a return to virtue. We need a return to these kinds of things because that's what stabilizes the system and allows us to have these freedoms and to deal with them responsibly. So if Charlie Kirk is saying, no, we can actually fix things and make the system work in all its glory, well, if you're on the other side, you want the system to break down so you can replace it with your communist utopia or with your Islamic State or something like that. You can't allow that. You got to stop that dude. You got to stop that dude. And so that's what you see going on around the world. There are forces that want to completely destroy civilizations because they want to replace the way things are with their way that they think is way better, even though it never works anywhere else in the world. They think it's going to be better in these places. You got to stop. You got to stop the Charlie Kirks. And what's Charlie Kirk doing? He's spreading this around the world. This, hey, let's get back to what makes things work. If you don't want things to work because you want the whole system to come crumbling to the ground so you can replace it, you got to stop these dudes. And that's why Charlie Kirk was a target. That's why someone like young Bob is a target. Speaking of Islam as one of the things that wants to break the entire system down so it can replace it, let's check out, let's check out Charlie Kirk, some of his highlights on Islam. This was put together earlier today by Milk Bar. Milk Bar does the best compilations. For some reason, he has an amazing knack for compilations. Well, let's check this out. And then I didn't want to do super chats. It's just weird in a live stream to be taking super chats, but I might go through them, and any super chats that are like a joke, I'll just kind of skip through real quick. And any that are like a more serious topic, we'll take a look at those. But here's Charlie Kirk on Islam. So Charlie saw the problem. I want to point out, me and AP talked about this already, but Charlie was, I'm trying to think, he was the only guy, the only one that had his sort of position and clout and the ability to do something big, who was taking a serious enough look at Islam. In other words, you have tons of leaders who recognize that there's a problem with Islam and what it's trying to do. Charlie saw that you need to actually do something more, and he wanted like a full course to train people, to train young people and so on, things they need to know about Islam, about what it calls for, about how to respond to it, about how Christians can defend their position and refute Muslim arguments and so on. He wanted people across the country to be trained in all of that stuff. That's one of the things that was going on behind the scenes. And AP's brought this up, and we've said we got to make that happen one way or another. In fact, now we're inclined to make it even better and awesomer. But here's Charlie Kirk on Islam.
I have really started, as you know, speaking more and more about Islam.
If you want to talk about how Islam mistreats women, we could talk all day long. Because you brought up female genital mutilation, which is a teaching of the Islamic faith.
Most Muslim majority countries, you cannot criticize the Prophet Muhammad. Muhammad, the greatest man ever to live, the greatest example, was a warlord who married a 6-year-old, raped her when she was 9, and then kept multiple wives.
Remember President Donald Trump openly ran on a Muslim ban into the United States of America?
Total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
Do you think Islam is compatible with Western civilization?
Absolutely not.
You get rid of Christianity.
Yeah, just to be clear, a Muslim can be perfectly fine. But Islam is an ideology that calls for the subjugation of the entire world. And so Islam isn't compatible with anything else. Islam is only compatible with Islam.
And then, even more dangerous, you go from secularism then to Islam. Because then you're like, well, we have to believe in something, and then you bring in a completely different ideology that's at odds with Western values.
So I debated at Oxford and Cambridge back in May. These are broken, conquered cities and towns. They're completely unrecognizable. When I go walk through Piccadilly Square and there's just more Muslims than native-born whites, or there's something wrong about that, and that is a metamorphosis and you have to wonder, like, did you vote for this? Did you want this? Did you invite it?
I know a lot of great individual Muslims. My primary doctor in America is actually a Muslim, and he's amazing. That's not the point. You could walk the street and meet a great Muslim in London. The question is macro Islam compatible with Western values?
I actually like that. I have not heard it put like that. He's calling it macro Islam. So Islam on a big scale. We're not talking about individuals. So you can say that Islam is always going to promote, let's say, killing apostates or something like that. I can't tell whether an individual Muslim is going to support a killing of apostates. An individual Muslim might be the nicest Muslim in the world. Yeah, our kid's pediatrician years ago was a hijab wearing Muslim woman. She was a good pediatrician. So guess what? You're not waging jihad on my kids and stuff like that. So guess what? You're an awesome pediatrician. I'm fine with you and so on. But he described it as macro Islam. Is that compatible? No. Macro Islam will crush you. In other words, Islam. But yeah, you always have to figure out how to distinguish Islam, the ideology, or Islam on the big scale. How do you distinguish that from, individual Muslims who might want to kill you or might be the nicest person, might be the nicest people in the world, depending on their particular beliefs and so on. So the tendency in the media is to describe nice Muslims as just Muslims, and then people who take it seriously, take the command to kill apostates seriously, take the commands to subjugate the world seriously. Those are the extremists, but it's like, those aren't the extremists. Those are the ones who are just taking it seriously. And so I'm more in favor of just calling what the jihadis want Islam, and then some term for people who aren't taking it as seriously or who've watered it down, like Islam light. Islam light. I used to describe it as like the Walt Disney version of Islam, but something that's not like completely demeaning, because you kind of want Muslims not taking it very seriously, right? So you don't want to be insulting them, but at the same time, you don't want to treat them like they're the true Muslims, and the ones who actually take Islam seriously, those are some sort of weird extremists or something like that, because it's not. It's just basic Islam. Anyway, this is one way to do it. Macro Islam.
Macro. Of course it's not.
As many as 1 million white English children may have been the victims of Muslim rape gangs.
Islam does not believe in freedom of speech.
11 slaughtered in the editorial meeting at the satirical weekly Charlie Hebdo. Supposed revenge for the paper's predictably provocative cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad.
Islam does not believe in freedom of religions. And finally, whereas we in the West are very careful to try to intermix religion and state, they are commanded to actually go into the state and try to change the state to be more Islamic around the core pillars of Islam.
Muslim armies move! Muslim armies move! We need to change the corrupt secular government.
The weirdest thing about that? There are endless clips of Muslims in Western nations. Yes, we're going to change the system. We're going to change this. We're going to take over. We're going to impose Islamic law and so on. If Charlie Kirk simply says, hey, and that's why I'm glad Milk Bar put this together and actually shows the clips. If this is the amazing thing, if you take, especially someone on the left, especially some young person, and you show them a clip of Charlie Kirk saying, hey, Islam calls for our subjugation. It wants to take over our system. It's going to be, you racist, you bigot, you Islamophobe, you're pure evil. But you can show Muslims saying this. You can show the Quran and the Hadith calling for this, and you can show Muslims calling for it, and for some reason they just wouldn't have a problem with it. He's evil for saying exactly what they're saying. He's evil for repeating what they're saying. He's evil for saying what the ideology teaches. There's something just absolutely insane in society when someone can be saying something, and when you simply point out, hey, this is what they're saying, you're the bad guy. So you have people like Ali Dawah and stuff talking about, we're going to kill you, the apostate prophet, and we're proud of that. Yeah, when we get Islamic State, blah, 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 blah. If you say, oh man, Islam is bad, look at what it calls for, you're the bad guy somehow. And this guy calling for people to be executed for realizing that Muhammad is the most obvious false prophet in history and they shouldn't be following him. They're fine. They're fine if they want to execute people, and if they're plotting to execute people, and even if they do execute people, and no matter what they do, they're fine. If you point out what they're doing, then you're evil. It's just some weird stuff, man. People have gone insane.
Things are antithetical to the West.
In fact, this is the main reason why I decided to speak out, because after I left Islam, I had horrible deception and basically, oppression of my mind behind me. I wanted to get away from it, but I look into the world and I see people saying stuff like Islam is misunderstood. It's a religion of peace. It's not a religion of peace. It is not a religion that wants to coexist with you. We have today in the UK, in many other countries, we have Muslims preachers openly saying that the vision of Muslims should be to take over Western nations.
سنخصبهم وسوف ننزل وسوف ننجب.
Catching this? Talking about the Muslim men. We're going to go over and take the women. We're going to give them fertility. We will breed children with them.
لأننا سوف نفتح بلادهم.
We've had imams in England saying they want to mount the West like a woman to be mounted and subdued. Gaddafi said something similar in the late 90s, saying that we're going to take over Europe without ever having to lift a sword. For anyone that has eyes to see and ears to hear and actually reads the Hadith and reads parts of the Quran, you know that conquest is an Islamic value.
I cannot see a single Western country that has become more Islamic and has become a better place to live that is happier or freer.
By what metric? Just happiness, quality?
Everything from quality of life, from cultural cohesion.
Is the Muslim world thrilled they're taking over the West?
Yes.
They tried for many years to conquer Europe through wars, only wars.
50 مليون مسلم في أوروبا بعد عشرات السنين سيحول أوروبا إلى قارة مسلمة.
This is the soft Islamic conquest of the West.
The spiritual battle is coming to the West, and the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life.
But soon, Britain will have more practicing Muslims than practicing Christians. I think that will be a catastrophic change, and everyone knows it.
That guy understood Islam, and that is unacceptable and makes him evil, according to lots of people. Simply, it's weird. The more you actually, if you're a non-Muslim, the more you understand about Islam, the more you know about Islam, the more evil you are just by knowing stuff. It's a weird topic. Hey, check this out. I guess Amy here, she's probably not seeing this because she must be watching from earlier because this just popped up. So she must have started late back when I was talking about what I think is going on in this guy's mind. Amy says, stop psychologically profiling this guy. You're not a psychologist. No, Amy, and you'll be watching this later. I'm a diagnosed psychopath who has spent time in mental hospitals and who, like this guy, became very violent at a young age and also got caught and went to prison. So I think I have some expertise on this issue. And I pointed out, I'm just going on the little bit of information that we have, but people are wondering how this, young guy raised in a Mormon household and so on just decides to kill. What's the radicalization process? And I'm pointing out, yeah, you can say, hey, this guy was in this online chat group and decided to go, kill someone because he was radicalized. Well, that might not, being part of that group doesn't exactly tell you why he decided to go kill someone. Well, I'm someone who actually understands what it's like to go kill someone as a young man like him. And so maybe he was going through something like I was going through. So I put that out there because it may be true. And that may explain why most other people who were in whatever chat group he was in didn't go out and kill someone, whereas he did. So anyway, and apart from that, I'll do what I want, Amy, and I triple dog dare you to tell me what to do again. Ha 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 ha. Anyway. All right, guys, that's the stuff I wanted to go through. Basically what we know so far, which isn't a tremendous amount. They caught the guy last night and then released some information today. We basically saw what we know up to this point, what information has been released. It's not a lot. It's not a lot. You have a couple indications that he was Antifa type. I've seen other stuff. I've seen people saying he was a member of multiple Antifa organizations and so on. I didn't see confirmation. I didn't want to use any of that just because it was just people saying it. I'd have to see some confirmation of it, and it can't just say someone named Tyler is part of this group. Got to see that this guy actually was part of the groups before I'd want to say any of that. But anyway, we've been through kind of what we know, and we'll have to wait for more information to come out. All right. So again, I didn't really want to do super chats because it's kind of a heavy topic and so on. But some of them are. I mean, I'm sure some of these are important questions and so on. So as I mentioned, I'll pull up the super chats, and if something's a joke, I'll probably just kind of skip through it, mention it real quick, and move on. But we'll check out relevant ones. Eunuch Petsu said, "Tears, we will meet Charlie when the Lord returns soon." I'm a liberal, but I'm so disgusted by the left now celebrating Kirk's murder in front of his child. Demonic. Is it okay to be politically homeless? Yeah, I'm politically homeless. I've described myself in the past as an I don't care-itarian. I mean there are a couple issues I care about, and the issues I'm not concerned with, I'm kind of like, I'm fine with whatever the rest of you guys come up with. If like you want to go big government, go, I don't care. If you want to go small government, it doesn't have a lot to do with me. I think part of that is like, I grew up in a West Virginia trailer park, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter who was elected. We were poor no matter what, right? So this guy's the president. Okay, we're still poor in the trailer park. This other guy got elected. Okay, this guy. All these promises about how things are going to change, nothing ever changed. And so I just, okay, you guys do what you want, and I'll go ahead and live my life. But we just never counted on politicians to really change a lot of things and so on. So never just grew up never caring much about what politicians were doing. There are a couple of issues that I'm extremely concerned about. The other issues, I just, whatever the rest of you guys come up with, whatever most people decide, I'm fine with it. Erica is about to do an address on Charlie Kirk channel. Yeah, we watched that earlier. So I guess these were before. I can't really explain what I'm feeling. This is from Mosh Cohen. I can't really explain what I'm feeling. I'm not even sure what I'm feeling. Last time I cried that much was for all the people we lost on October 7th. Oh, this is one of three from Mosh here. I've said here a lot, I'm not sure if I have hope the U.S. could be saved, but he was my hope. I follow only three people daily, you, AP, and Charlie. And then Mosh continues, says, feels like someone killed a part inside of me. My entire country woke up to a day that felt like Memorial Day. We are all Charlie Kirk. Yeah, what's that guy's name? Larry Sanger. He was like the co-founder of Wikipedia. And then he got out of it when he thought it was becoming too biased. But he became a Christian, I think like last year or something like that. But it's interesting. He was a philosophy professor. I would always assume that someone who starts a site like Wikipedia would just be some tech nerd. But he was actually a philosophy professor. So I thought that was interesting. But anyway, he became a Christian, and I just saw him share something why someone was asking, like, hey, other people die and are killed and so on. Why does this feel so much worse with Charlie Kirk? Why is this affecting people so much more? Why does it feel like so much more extreme than when other people die or something like that? And I was thinking, like, Charlie was kind of giving lots of people hope, right? Like in other words, you see Western civilization, you see America, the UK, France, Germany, and it just seems like everything's been on a steady decline for a long time. And then just over the past couple of years, it starts looking like things are turning around. Like church attendance in the US for like the past 3 or 4 years has been increasing. It's been steady decline for decades, and then all of a sudden started going back up. There was a study we covered in a live stream. I actually had the guy who did this study in a live stream either at the end of last year or the beginning of this year. But he did a study in the UK, and it was the opposite of what I thought, and it's the opposite of what almost everyone thought. People thought that in the UK, each generation was becoming more atheistic, right? And then they did the study. It's actually the reverse. It's the oldest generation that is the most atheistic in the UK. the younger generation is the least atheistic. Doesn't mean they're Christians. It just means they're like, they'll say, no, I'm spiritual, or I just believe in God, or something like that. But the youngest generation were the least atheistic, and they were simultaneously the most open to listening to someone preach to them. So it was the opposite of what I thought. I thought like the older generation, they'd be more Christian, and like the youngest generation, they'd be the most hostile. And it was the opposite. So anyway, point is, you're seeing things like that. You're seeing young people get excited. You're seeing Christians just take over Speaker's Corner to the point where the Muslims just run to the police every time to protect them from Christians responding to them. They're running from someone like young Bob. They're terrified of him. You're looking at these things and you're thinking like, wow, it's going to be like a revival. It's going to be like a Christian revival, and it's going to be like a renewal of Western civil. That's why it's called Turning Point, right? It's going to turn things around. So I think lots of people were looking at Charlie Kirk going, this guy's getting things done. He's helping things to change. And so when he dies, it's like, oh my goodness, are they just going to kill anyone who tries to make things better? And so I think that's why it's hitting harder for a lot of people. But I have to say, after watching his wife speak and watching how other people are reacting, I don't see anyone saying, oh, well, I guess we can't do this. We're just going to get killed. It seems like everyone is saying, no, we're going to go harder now. We're going to go even harder. And that's good. That's what you do. Because guys, keep in mind, it's the exact same thing with jihad. And we just saw an example with the Charlie Hebdo cartoon massacre. The Charlie Hebdo, where these cartoonists were making cartoons of Muhammad and putting them in their papers and so on. And 2 jihadis showed up and massacred a bunch of people in Paris at the offices of Charlie Hebdo. When that happens, you need to set a serious example that this is never going to work. In other words, when someone kills people over cartoons, the response should be millions of people around the world making cartoons of Muhammad, posting them in every newspaper, posting them everywhere, all over school bulletin boards and so on, to send a message. If you are trying to get your way, if you're trying to stop people from making cartoons and you're using violence to stop people from making cartoons, we're going to show you that anytime you get violent, we are going to go 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times as hard, doing whatever it is that you are using violence to stop us from doing. And even people who are like, I don't believe in, I don't want to draw Muhammad. What do I care about that? I don't want to hurt people's feelings. I don't want to make fun of their prophet and so on. You need to do it anyway. You would need to do it anyway. It's like, okay, I didn't want to do this. I had no interest in making fun of your stupid fake prophet. But if you're getting violent, then I am going to make fun of your stupid fake prophet. And just think, if every time someone got violent, it became 100-fold more of whatever they were getting violent to stop, that kind of sends a message, oh, violence does not work. Maybe this is not the way to get what we want. Instead, the vast majority of the time in the West, when jihadis get violent, we do what they want. We back down, which sends the opposite message, right? That sends the message, violence is the way to get what you want. You want us to behave in a certain way? Just threaten us with death and we'll do whatever you want. That's what we do. And so it should be the same principle with something like Charlie Kirk getting killed. It should be, oh, you were doing that to shut down what Charlie was doing? Okay, we're going to go 100 times as hard. We're going to make it 100 times as big. That's kind of the way to deter any future Tyler Robinsons from deciding to turn to violence, right? In other words, all the people cheering on, yay, 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 yay. If a year from now they see, oh my goodness, look at what this did. This inspired millions of people to rise up and start doing what Charlie Kirk was doing. The next person that says, well, I'm going to go kill one of them. They'll be like, no, do not do that. Do not do that. Don't do that. It's not going to work. Anyway, I think that's the best way. I think that's the best way. In other words, if you're wondering, well, how do you stop people from just killing people? Well, letting them know that it will always, always, always have the opposite effect from what they were intending. I think that's the best road. Thoughts on claims him being from a Mormon conservative military cop family and therefore not stereotypical trans activist, instead radicalized gamer. Yeah, early in the discussion, I said we were kind of putting together what we were expecting. Right, this was last night. You can watch it on your Brother in Christ's channel. We went through it. But we were suspecting someone on the left, and it's just, it could be a Muslim, it could be someone else. I mean, if you're assigning probabilities to hypotheses, if something is possible, it has some level of probability. It might be a tiny fraction of 1% or something like that. But if it's not impossible, it's something that could happen. So could the government decide could the U.S. government decide to take out Charlie Kirk? Yes. Do I think no, I think that's very, very, very improbable. Did Israel decide to take out Charlie Kirk? Is it possible? I mean, it's possible. Do I think that's remotely likely? No. Very, 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 very small probability. So if you're assigning probabilities, it would most likely, just based on experience and so on, if someone's killing someone like Charlie Kirk, it's okay. Who are the people who are most ticked off at that dude? Who did he upset most? Because those are going to be the people who have the most motive, right? And so you would think someone on the fringe left. And so just because we've seen multiple shootings by trans individuals in recent years and stuff, you would be thinking that, right? So that's what we're thinking. We're thinking maybe someone in the trans community. Maybe some like radically pro-abortion person. In other words, someone who's like, hey, we have to kill people who are pro-life or something like that. But, Charlie Kirk, he's very pro-life and so on. So maybe someone like that. And then you have like your Antifa types. So it would, if you were making a wager, it would probably be on someone in one of those categories. And then as another possibility, he was ticking off a lot of Muslims, although the sniper on the building isn't a typical Muslim MO there. So anyway, I would guess someone on the left, and turns out he does seem to be like the Antifa type. Oh yeah, that's what we kind of put together and what we were expecting, and turns out that's what it's looking like. Oops, already saw that one. Jesus got us, yes. Go read the prayer Elisa Childers posted on her YouTube community. It's in regard to this tragedy. We all should pray it. I'm going to check that out real quick. So this was just a post. Let me see. Okay, that's not a prayer. That's not a prayer. That's not a prayer. I don't see a prayer. She has what is this, a blessing? Let me see. Okay, so a day ago, she said, I spent an hour today with Chris Fabry on Moody Radio processing the murder of Charlie Kirk. I shared some personal reflections as well as advice for how young Christians in particular can respond and move forward. Oh, here we go. I also shared the prayer I've been praying for the last 24 hours or so. May God shine the full disinfecting power of his light on every dark and unsanctified corner of my heart, and use this tragedy to purge every last drop of fear and cowardice that still resides there. Yeah, that's pretty, that's what young people would call based. Read that again. She said, may God shine the full disinfecting power of his light on every dark and unsanctified corner of my heart, and use this tragedy to purge every last drop of fear and cowardice that still resides there. That is a good prayer, because that's exactly what you need to happen. And everything ties together. One, that's what Charlie Kirk would want. That's obviously what his wife was thinking. It's what Western civilization needs, and it is the correct way to dissuade future murderers, right? If you're going to kill someone and it's just going to cause them to dial up whatever you hate, then violence is not a good solution. The most charitable, respectful, and genuine voice that the right side of politics has to offer was assassinated while welcoming an open dialogue with the other side. How can we move forward when fighting with words is no longer welcomed? Yeah, we've kind of discussed that. In fact, that was a good response from young Bob on this issue. In other words, don't think just because they killed Charlie Kirk that therefore they've won and we can't talk anymore because they're just going to kill us. A guy killed one of us, a guy, and that guy is going to be in prison for the rest of his life, if not executed. And so, a lot of what happens as we move forward is decided by us right now. If we respond appropriately, again, you can dissuade people from going the direction of violence. Greetings, brothers and sisters in Christ. Thank you. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Most Dawa-esque lib reaction, Israel did it. Yeah, that's what I saw from tons of people. And in another sentence, I'm happy about it. Yeah, isn't it? That is kind of funny. They're saying they're happy that Charlie Kirk was killed, but also saying, and Israel did it. Lo, and here the gears in their head come to a halt when they say, oh, so do you support Israel sometimes? That's interesting. So I guess that's actually funny for the Muslims who are online saying, yeah, I'm happy that Charlie Kirk is dead. And yo, I think Israel did it. Yeah. Then you point out, oh, so you support Israel. Charlie and his assassin are both victims of Satan. And if you are not sorrowful, as an act of will, not emotion, on behalf of both, and the desire to pray for both, you are allowing yourself to become another victim. He will swallow up death forever, and the Lord God will wipe away tears from all faces, and the reproach of his people he will take away from all the earth, for the Lord has spoken. I am an atheist. I am an atheist, but after the devastating loss of Charlie, I think I need God. How do I believe? I really want to, but I don't know how. Now, I'm interested in Christian apologetics, so my answer is usually related to apologetics. But one thing I've learned over the years is not everyone thinks like that. Other people, apologists are thinking like in intellectual terms a lots of times, but not everyone thinks like that, right? So as far as stuff here, I mean, everyone can share advice, and different people will give different advice. I have a video on my channel that just discusses my experience, because I was also an atheist and I became a Christian. But my video is how God destroyed my atheism. There may be better things, but just off the top of my head and stuff that is, that I'm familiar with, I'd check that out first and try reading the Gospels. Get a Bible and read the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and then get back to us after that. The government gotta investigate what these schools are doing to churn out these criminals. They have churned out more radicals than the Cold War CIA. Yeah, I've pointed out I'm not convinced that this came from his school, because he only spent 1 year at the school and then he went to learn. Again, it's possible, because a lot can happen in a year, especially if you're just, you're in a completely new environment from your family and stuff. So a lot can happen in a year. But just based on the little we know, sounds like it was something online. It was some online stuff. With that said, that's a separate issue from, colleges are turning people into like seriously radical people. And you've seen that over the past couple years. Sending you and your babies prayers of strength, comfort, and love. May God keep yous forever. I'm guessing that was for Erica. All they did was give his movement a martyr. Yeah. And I have to say, as much as, you don't want someone to die, even like the Christians who were martyred early on. It's like, do you want Paul to be beheaded? No. But it's just a fact. It's just a fact. Martyrs do have that effect on people. Other people look at the stand they took and their willingness to face death, and that does inspire people. In Israel, a lot of murals are made for Charlie. Yeah, I've seen one of them. I posted it on Instagram accounts. Duty Shoval and David Rebel, Hazanor, center left, posted about Charlie all day. Oh, dang. Sam here says, Turning Point USA is crashing. I couldn't get through to the website. So I guess you went to their website and so on? Yeah, I mean, hearing that Erica was speaking on the Turning Point website, yeah, that might have completely overloaded them. Charlie helped me come back to Jesus Christ, praying for his family. Awesome. The tolerant left, they are full of hate and bile and will stop at nothing to silence conservative voices, literally nothing. The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. Yep, that was the quotation in people's minds when we were just talking about martyrs. Your buddy Turek was just confirmed to be Mossad. Why are you hiding it, boy? That's Sheikh Mike Wingelinge, yeah. Yeah, we discussed that earlier. That is the weirdest thing ever. But again, when I saw it, I was like, what? They're saying Frank Turek had something to do with this? But yeah, it's just people who saw him in a video, didn't know who he was, just saw him on his phone and jumped to a conclusion. But that is you can see how they jumped to the conclusion, but my goodness, you're talking about Frank Turek there. There's a symmetry with the archetypes to Christ. Why is the assumption tune killing a good man will win them anything under that narrative arch? You wonder what they're thinking, but apparently they don't have the message. So you just have to get the message across to them. God bless you, D. Wood. Thank you. The Jews wanted Ben Shapiro to take over, you see? Yeah, that's, if you wanted a conspiracy, say, hey, they just wanted Ben Shapiro to take over. Did you see the picture of Shooter as a teenager being given a computer and his mom writes, now he can avoid us? Pretty ominous. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, he looked like he was, 13, 14, 15, and they got him a computer, and then his mom posted, see, now he can ignore us. So, yeah. Again, I don't know if that's what happened, but given the fact that he was doing a lot of stuff online, it seems like the most likely explanation. To help pay your jizya so you are protected from being al-zutted. Nobody's zutting me. This tragedy screams Ephesians 6:12. Oh, yeah. I'm stealing this, Charlie Kirk Kenobi. If you strike me down, you will only make me stronger. I've actually seen that used in memes about him already, like putting a picture of him and then that line. Because it's true. It's true. It's like, what really sucks, that dude was young. That dude was 31. So to already be having this big an impact by 31, I mean, what was he going to accomplish by 35, 40, 45? It's similar with Nabil. You know what I mean? Like Nabil, by the time he died, he had graduated from ODU with a degree in communications, and then he was pre-med, and then he got his medical doctorate. So he got his MD. He did a master's in Christian apologetics while he was getting his MD. Then after that, he got a master's in religion. And then he got a master's at Oxford and was about to start on his PhD at Oxford, had spoken all over the world, had 3 books out, had 2 others that he was starting work on, and was about to work on his PhD at Oxford and so on. And so it's just a situation where he was only a Christian for 12 years, and he did all of that, and it's like, what would he have done with another 20 or 30 years? And it's kind of like that with Charlie Kirk. It's like, gosh, this guy did all this by the time he was 31. We all identify as Charlie Kirk. Pol says, the situation made Nick Fuentes to have inner reflections. He made a beautiful eulogy for Charlie and called for peace and civility. He was humble enough to say that Charlie was better than him and a powerhouse, called to trade swords for cloaks and see every person as child of God. Yeah, I'd love to see Nick Fuentes take that advice seriously to heart. I hope so. I hope that Nick Fuentes changes. But that's a guy I've seen so much, and keep in mind, horrible people who say horrible things and have horrible views can change and so on. So I certainly hope so. That's a guy where I'm actually going to have to see it. I'm going to have to see it before I believe it. D. Wood, you should teach a course here on YouTube. Well, that's why we make videos. The idea was we're making something like, we're going to make something like very organized and so on that takes people through everything they need to know. Even Nick said blaming Israel for this is dumb. Amazing how off the deep end Candace Owens and her ilk are. Yeah. Cries of the widow. The shooter has no idea what he has done. Yeah. Oh, here we go. I think Ian Carroll's tweet proves he is either foreign paid influence to demoralize America or legitly insane, that his obsession consumes him. For surely there's a future, and your hope will not be cut off. Yeah, there's Mormon Jihad. Joseph Snackbar. I'll create a new brand called Z-Nike. Jews do it. Z-Nike. Dad turned him in to get the 100K and give it to the Jews, you see. So if you wanted a Jewish conspiracy, yeah, you can say that Dad turned him in to get the reward money and give it to the Jews. Jesus is Lord, King of Kings. Yes. Thank you, David. The summary I needed. I wonder where the well set up rifle came from and who engraved the bullets. I mean, if he is an electrician's apprentice, it seems like he would be around tools and stuff like that. So that wouldn't be terribly difficult. As far as the rifle, he came from a family that, again, was like going to gun shows and stuff like that. He may have just had a 30-06, but I mean, a 30-06 is a pretty standard like hunting rifle that you can go get at a store. Do you think the assassin is Cluster B? Good chance, but I'd have to see some more, because we've just seen nothing from him. We've seen nothing from him except some scribbling and heard about a conversation he had at a dinner table and so on. The Muslims were the original furries. Ask the goats about it. Very rude and Islamophobic. Charlie Kirk is now in the presence of our Lord Jesus Christ, and someday we shall see him again. Pray for his wife and children during this time. That's another parallel with Nabil. Nabil had a very young daughter. Up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B, start. Guess he couldn't do the GTA get the police off you code fast enough. Yeah, I mean, again, he was smart. That was well planned, but obviously not a criminal, and they caught him. First, I mean, obviously not an experienced criminal. That was all well planned, but it was like extremely well planned for a non-criminal. First, nobody deserves this. I knew little about the guy, but I've been wanting to become a Christian, but I'm afraid to become less empathetic. Why didn't the gospel soften Kirk's heart like it did for D. Wood and many more? I don't know what you mean by like him not having a soft heart. Maybe don't get your information about him from like the memes that are circulating from certain people, or the just quotes, and actually watch him have a discussion with someone. posted this message earlier but was missed. But the thing about Helldivers 2 is that it is a game all about spreading democracy through killing all sorts of different creatures, probably why he mentions it. Interesting. This crap is Muhammad Hijab golden shower level stuff. Not sure what you're referring to. Golden shower. Not sure what you're referring to because this super chat's from earlier, so I don't know what this was in response to. OWO is, I think maybe what he was scribbling on the bullets, like Muhammad Hijab type stuff. OWO is a generic smiley. The phrase is a meme in the Deegan furry sphere, and we know because they tell us the bulges are exactly what you fear. Ugh, yeah. I didn't even ask about the bulges. Valhalla, he was Christian. Yeah, I don't think he meant anything negative by that. Just think he was saying, like, you're a warrior. You're a warrior. I'll see you in Valhalla. I'm a warrior. You're a warrior. I'm a warrior. Yeah, but it was kind of weird. The Valhalla was Cash saying Charlie was a warrior who died a warrior's death. Yeah, he's honoring Charlie. Yeah, I think most people get that. It is just weird to say to a Christian. Antifa were pure freedom men. These ain't Antifa. Yeah, and it's been pointed out many times. The people who call themselves anti-fascist are fascists. It's just weird. Guess I'll explain this. The W in WOWO is blush mark hatching from anime-style art. The emoji is old, probably Japanese, and remained in web subculture. Let's see. Military, law enforcement, anyone who trains for combat situations, also firefighters talk about Valhalla. It's not literal, it's just the culture. Okay, so this is like a group language thing. So many uncanny similarities to the Trump shooting. Yeah. Praying for the safety of everyone who speaks publicly at this point. In the game of Islam, if you press hands down, butt up, takes you directly to the level of Al-Zut. Very weird thing to say on such a nice channel. As Christians, we should love everyone. I've heard people blame the Jews because many say bad things about St. Mary and their unbelief that Jesus isn't God, but Jesus said they will come to him at the end of times. You're also not supposed to hate people over disagreements and so on. The professors become their priests also, though. Yep, that's true. Man, David, you are so relatable. That's what I am. You, IQ, Mog to Gandhi, Heaven, Brutal, Hereditary. I don't know what any of this means. You telling me Robinson is so smart, yet he can't face Kirk in an intellectual debate. Instead, he assassinates him. It shows how weak their position is. Yeah, it does. If you really think you're so smart, you should jump up to the mic. Perfect point. Not sure what that's referring to, but you're probably right. Your advice to stay humble and not seek my own glory. That's the good side of having faults, ladies and gentlemen. And that's the good side of, like, you don't want to do bad things and so on, but, think about the bad things you've done in your life. Think about the times you've failed. You don't want to dwell on them to the point where you think, oh, I'm just worthless scum. Think about your losses and so on, and realize it's actually good that you fail sometimes, that you lose sometimes. It helps you stay humble. It's actually good that you have to wrestle with things, that you have to wrestle with temptations, and sometimes you fail, and it's bad that you're giving into a temptation, but it's good in another way. It's good for the purpose of not thinking that you're the greatest person in the world and so on. So ironic, I'm getting my apprenticeship by next year to become an electrician. What a sad waste of a potential future. Hopefully he finds Jesus. Yeah. You have to figure in that these people think we're too stupid to understand them and hold us beneath contempt. It's intellectually arrogant bitterness. Yep. So you're saying this guy is a highly intelligent, useful idiot. The Dunning-Kruger effect is strong with these communist barnyard bird turds. Yeah, and this ties into what I was saying earlier, that, you know, intelligence can actually be bad if it's someone who wants to do evil. And I mean, you know, he actually got away for a while after killing someone on a college campus where there were thousands of people there. And he got away. If he had, you know, he could have taken a couple more steps so that to make himself harder to identify, and he could have gotten away, and because he had, what did he have, like a day and a half, whatever. He could have actually, like, if he knew where there was a cabin, you don't want a cabin that's like associated with your family or something like that, because then, you know, that place will be, police will go to that place, right? But if he was aware of some cabin out in the middle of nowhere that's not associated with him, and he knows no one's staying there, he could have gone and just hid out and stayed out of sight for months or something like that before they caught him. So it's good that they caught the guy. Given Kirk's inflammatory rhetoric towards minorities, can we really expect them to have sympathy for him? Love your enemy isn't always easy to embody. I don't know what you mean by the inflammatory rhetoric towards minorities. I mean, I've seen the quotes going around and stuff like that, but I mean, I've also seen, when I see actual videos of him interacting with people, he seems pretty nice. Dave Rubin is great. Yeah, Dave's pretty cool. I sincerely hope all of these people spreading hate and misinformation can one day realize they are wholly loved by God. We can and have to do better. That's true. Chunk named his YouTube channel after people who committed a genocide. He should never be able to call someone evil or disgusting. Yeah, Turks are the worst. Who's pretty mannequin lady? Not sure what that's referring to. Because he thinks it's okay to be violent to idiots. Yeah. Ruben is raising Chunky's blood pressure. Yeah, I mean, look, you know, Chunk has some terrible, terrible takes on things. I have to say, at the end of the day, I want nothing but good for the guy. But, dude, you need to calm down. He seriously needs to calm down. You don't want this guy to just, like, his heart explode because he's always amped up and always just perpetually enraged and freaked out. Gotta. I mean, seriously, like, Chunk needs to just step away from whatever he's doing, because it's going to kill him. He can't deal with this stuff and be calm. It's like, your heart can't take that forever. It can't. We should stream together sometime. Issa says, we should stream together sometime, especially in light of these new events. Dave and Chunk used to work together on the Young Turks. Really? Dave Rubin used to be on the Young Turks? We need free speech. Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, Issa, come up with a good topic here in the near future, and we can jump on. Skank Dunger needs to learn to seriously shut up. Oh, is that Chunk Yogurt supposed to? D Wood, would you get on trigonometry? It'd be nice. I mean, if they asked me, I would, but I mean, there are more important people than me to interview in the world. And I never seek it. I'm not, as you guys can see, I'm just interested in live streaming with, like, my friends. When someone asks me to go on their show, I usually, you know, if I have time, I try to go on their show with them and so on. But I have no desire to go on, like, big platforms and stuff. Like, even if I got, like, really famous, again, I'll do it if someone asks me and something like that, but I have no desire to be like, hey, get me on your show. But they are doing awesome work, and trigonometry. I think a new American crusade is inevitable, since the leftist, liberal, Islamist, progressive, etc. are cornering the conservatives sooner or later. Yeah, I have to say, you know, I agree with young Bob that you don't want to go that direction, because then they kind of win, that they're trying to make the system not work. And so just going back to, hey, let's all kill each other and whoever wins takes over, it's kind of not what you want. However, going with what I'm saying, if the entire just project fails and the system breaks down, you're going to get a tyranny, and that's when it's going to come down to whoever can win. And yep, that can happen. That can happen. Who's Milo? Saw his post saying he's unretiring and people were hyped in comment section. Who is he? I assume you're talking about Milo Yiannopoulos. He became famous for a while years ago because he was a gay conservative, and he was going around college campuses and just schooling young people and so on, and skyrocketed in popularity. Then it came out some comments he was making about men having relationships with teenage boys and things like that, and how you shouldn't view it as all bad or something like that, and that sort of the conservatives turned their backs on him after that largely, and so he was fading out for a while. And I've seen him multiple times. I think Candace Owens interviewed him recently and so on. You couldn't have calmly debated away the American Revolution, though. I'm skeptical of the idea that there's never a just Christian conflict in history. I didn't say that. I didn't say that there's no just Christian conflict. Christians came up with the concept of just war, right? Just war theory. And so it's okay. Sometimes you have to go to war. That's understood. Sometimes you do. What are the requirements for a just war? Part of the concept is like last resort. Like you've tried all the peaceful means and stuff, and there's just no way. There's just no way. And they have other principles involved and stuff like that. But the idea would be you don't want to say, hey, they killed Charlie Kirk, therefore we're justified in going on killing sprees and stuff like that. That's not the same thing. On point, brother. Yes, this is earlier, so I'm not sure what that's about, but yes, I guess you can apply it to anything because we've been on point this entire time. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. It's deeper than that feminist women want the system to die to get the man's attention. Men need to step up until they do. Women will never feel safe. Make your women feel safe. Chunk Yogurt has actually been very decent throughout this whole Charlie Kirk ordeal. I'm not sure if he's afraid for himself, but I gotta give him credit for his remarks. Yeah, I didn't see the rest of that. He might have been totally nice and level-headed. The left is unbelievably lucky that nearly everyone on the right is Christian. If they were pagan or something, then the left would be hunted down. Thank you, David, for this live. Been pretty depressed since I found out Charlie passed. Being here with everyone really helps me. Thank you all. Thank you. Charlie didn't deserve that, of course. He went to talk to those kids out of love, yep, and he faced hate. He's truly an American hero, and he was so smart, a genius level, and he used his God-given talent to open the eyes of young minds. And I mean, think about how powerful that is. It's like, hey, all you people on these college campuses and your professors and anyone, you guys have all these ideas that seem to work in your classrooms, and you're saying, hey, we've got all these brilliant ideas. Okay, you've got all these brilliant ideas. Step up to the mic and let's see if they can actually stand up to scrutiny and if you actually have something better than what I'm saying. And someone killed him for it. I don't like calling Charlie a martyr because he died for politics, not faith, not a criticism. I'm sure he would have been willing to die for his faith. I mean, they're kind of intertwined, right? In other words, he's also straight up preaching the gospel in these discussions and so on when it's relevant. So it's combined with him, and especially with his Christian view, he's trying to save his civilization. Which, if you're trying to save your civilization, that's going to have a political component. So going through E.L. Jacoby Twitter reply section makes me black-pilled and also respect Ben Shapiro more. He gets threats from Christians, left, and liberals. Yeah, I saw a clip from Ben Shapiro earlier where he was saying someone spread the rumor that he was stopping his speaking tour on college campuses, he said, "I'm not speaking. We're gonna do more. We're gonna do more now." And that's good. That's the appropriate response. It's because Charlie looked like a regular American. He did look like a regular American. I am psychology. What? You are psychology. That's weird. Rabbi Yisrael Goldstein had loving words for Charlie Kirk. He is loved around the world and with his Lord and Savior Christ. Yeah, he was. Any good resources debunking the USS Liberty thing? I mean, yeah, just go to an article about it and read carefully. John 12:24. That's Sheba Dog raises. Oh, that's a super sticker. Almost through these. God bless you, brother. Greetings from Serbia. It's a good place. The people of Israel loved Charlie Kirk. We have been seeing that a lot on X. The people of Israel grieve his murder. The people of Israel are fighting the war of light against darkness. May God bless America and Israel. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. Hey, guys, love you. God bless and have mercy on us. Love you too, David. Thank you. Start with the New Testament, learning about Jesus, and pray to the Creator of the heavens and the earth to help your unbelief. That's good. That's the advice for someone earlier who said he thinks he needs to believe in God. But what do you mean username? How do you know when you're in a... But what do you mean username? How do you know when you're in a Chamberlain situation? So you mean, how do you know when you're not just appeasing everyone or something like that? Guys, for those of you who are thinking, no, we just got to get violent. We just got to get violent. Just think for a moment. What do you mean? Like you as an individual? Like you're going to go get violent? Because guess what? You're going to look just like this dude. What are you going to go? You're going to go shoot a leftist? You think that's going to send the message that you want? Remember someone who tried that, Anders Breivik. He went on a killing spree up in Norway. Went on a killing spree, killed dozens of people to try and spread his message. How'd that work out? Is he remembered as this great lion who defended the West and so on? No, he's remembered as a complete lunatic and a terrorist. So are you talking about just yourself? You're gonna go kill somebody? What are you gonna do? Or do you mean you're gonna get like a group of people, let's say 100, and you guys are gonna go kill a bunch of people? Do you think that's gonna work? Or you think you would get shut down pretty quickly and end up in prison or executed? What would you need if you actually wanted to, let's say you want to violently subjugate the opposition? You'd need massive support and the government and so on, all agreeing that, yep, we're going to go violently subjugate those that we disagree with. Guess what? If you had the support, if you had the numbers and the support to actually do that, you don't need to do it. You'll have already won. Right? It's like people who say who said in the past, nope, I'm sick of sitting around while Islam spreads. We got to start doing some killing. Sitting there thinking, okay, if you just mean you're going to go out and kill someone, you're going to go to prison. And you're not going to accomplish anything. No one's going to say, wow, now Islam has stopped. You'll become the example that Muslims use from that point on to say, look, you're calling us violent. They're the ones who are violent, right? So you getting violent against Muslims would not fix anything. If you had a group of 1,000 people, you gonna take over? You gonna stop Islam with that? No. What would you need to actually pull off that? You'd need massive public support, the support of the government or governments and so on. You're saying, yeah, look, why don't we just have that? If you had that, you wouldn't need to do it. Guys, do you understand how weak and pathetic and fragile something like Islam is? Or some of these weird leftist views? Again, they wouldn't even, they get crushed up at the mic. They can't stand up to scrutiny. That's why this dude had to turn to violence, right? So what's weak? Their ideas. If you had the kind of support, if you had the numbers to pull off some sort of violent massacre of everyone you disagree with, you could just refute them if you had that many people. Think. There have been a handful of us. For years, there were just a handful of us, and I mean literally a handful of us, who were responding to Islam. Now there's a bunch, but for a while it was just a few. We got the apostasy rate among young Muslims from 0% up to 26% in 2 decades. Not a lot of people. Imagine if hundreds of thousands or millions of people knew how to blast away at Islam or whatever you're talking about. You're thinking, oh, we got to go kill somebody or something. You could wreck that. You could wreck them peacefully. In other words, if you don't have the will, or the numbers to wreck them peacefully, you're not going to have the will or numbers to massacre them. But if you have the will and the numbers to massacre them, you wouldn't need to massacre them because you could crush their ideas. So anyway, I don't understand the inclination. What do you mean, man? What's going on? We've got to do something. I don't even know if that's what you mean, but you bring up Chamberlain. That's what I was thinking. What's the likelihood of fixing the Islamic problem in the U.S. with freedom of religion? Any ideas? I'm fairly new to your channel. Keep up the work. Keep the work up, bro. I just said it. Islam is massive. Why do you think they try to silence critics? Why do you think they kill cartoonists? Islam cannot handle mockery. They have the most mockable false prophet ever, and they can't handle it. It's extremely fragile. That's why they kill people for criticizing. Guess what? When they say, this person criticized our prophet, we had to kill him. To me, that just sends me a message. Oh, that's your weakness. You just told me what your weakness is. You told me what your weakest spot is. Getting violent with them is not their weakest spot. Mocking and exposing their false prophet and their stupid book, that's their weak spot. Why, in the name of common sense, isn't everyone focusing on that? Why? I can't figure it out. It's like they're telling you, hey, we're coming to subjugate you, but we have this one massive weakness that you could exploit in a heartbeat and send us scrambling in terror. And we all go, okay, that's the one thing we don't want to do then. It's like, what? Are you insane? I mean, again, just imagine so it's football season now. Just imagine that you're going up against another team and they're good at certain things, but their defense, they just can't stop a running back. These guys have no one that can stop a running back. Every running back who takes off gets 50 yards with no problem. Imagine going into that and going, whatever we do, we don't want to run the ball. Let's try everything else. Why? You know what their weak spot is. I don't get it. What are we going to do? Learn to criticize Muhammad and the Quran. If enough people do that, you have won against Islam. You may have other things to deal with, but that's how you deal with Islam. I can't figure out why people are looking for some other solution other than the one we know with absolute certainty works perfectly. I don't understand. Sad that we got to this point, but are you going to start wearing body armor when you speak at public events? No, I won't. And by the way, I'm not even allowed. So no, I've never worn body. Well, I do. I did have my Quran shirt. That was the kind of body armor. I don't know if anyone, I'm sure. Well, I know a bunch of you have seen that, but yeah, I had a shirt made, L from L-I-S-O Elohim, designed it. I told her what I wanted and she put it on there, but it has Arabic Quran verses all over it. And then in the middle, it says checkmate jihadis. Meaning you can't shoot me or kill me without getting blood all over the Quran. And that kept me pretty safe at Speaker's Corner. But actually, convicted violent felons can't even wear body armor. It's illegal. So I just gave a tip to jihadis who want to brutally murder me. Guess what, guys? Yeah, I'm not wearing body armor. Now do something. Bring an army, though. Because if you come with like 2 or 3 guys, I'm going to win. If you come with 5 guys, I'm going to win. So bring at least 6 and be armed. Charlie Kirk did not die. He just went home. That's true. I'm noticing priestly clergy that are promoting radical leftist heretical ideology. One of them was arrested recently. How can we combat this in a Christian manner? I still think like the solution to almost all problems is having an informed population of free people. In other words, I wouldn't even focus on the clergy. I would focus on the people. The people. Spread good ideas and refute bad ideas among the people. And clergy who don't catch on, well, their churches are gonna die. Link to the Milk Bar compilation video, please. I will. That was on X, though. I don't know if he also posted that on YouTube, but I'll add that later. And if I forget, remind me. What were the planned next steps for AP after the Turning Point session? The next steps as far as that sort of thing, I've already mentioned. Charlie Kirk wanted a number of people assembled. In fact, we're supposed to get together next month to record a bunch of videos on a bunch of topics. We do not know if that is still going to happen or if that's going to be canceled. We're not going to ask right now because we don't want to bother. They've got other things to focus on right now. So we're going to wait probably, I don't know, 10 more days or something like that, and then just send a nice email saying, hey, whatever you guys want to do, if you want to cancel it, totally fine. If you want to go through with it as planned, totally fine. If you want to postpone it, totally fine. Just let us know, and we'll see what happens there. I'm a pretty angry person, but I can still at least have a conversation. The fat guy on Piers Morgan's show needs to calm down. Yeah, and I've said it, like, for his own health. For his own health, he needs to calm down. You don't see a lot of 70-year-olds that enraged. Why? Because they don't make it to 70. Per previous catching up, I believe it's the difference between fundamentalist and cultural Islam. Or just Islam and like cultural Islam. That's what I mean. He's like, I don't even want to call it fundamentalist, because it's just like basic standard Islam. And in fact, according to Islam, you're not even a Muslim. You're not a Muslim. I mean, Surah 4 verse 65 says that if you don't submit to all of Muhammad's decisions, you're not a Muslim. You're not a Muslim if you don't submit to all of Muhammad's decisions. So it's weird to say someone's a Muslim in some other sense when the Quran says you're not a Muslim if you're not following all of this. Matthew 25:23. Well done, good and faithful servant. How to respond to Christians who say Kirk was racist. Well, you just heard Dave Rubin say, well, I actually knew him, and I had dinner with him, with my husband and his wife, and he said that dude didn't have a racist bone in his body. And I'd have to say, what? Like what? Again, don't say someone tweeted something that he said. Actually listen to what he said. Joe Lansdale, the owner of Palantir, responded to your martyrdom tweet. He is very anti-Islam. I don't know what Palantir is. Oh, it's good he's anti-Islam, though. I'll check that out. I'll go through the comments. About the backlash to Charlie's costs of being Second Amendment comments, he was recognizing the reality of living in a fallen world while never condoning criminal violence. That's what pundits ignore. Oh, yeah, so that's one of the most common things about him, and one of the things that his critics are saying, this is why they say he deserved to die. It's because he's asked, what about people killed in gun violence? And he said, well, it's worth some of the occasional deaths to actually have a right to bear arms. And what he means there is guns allow you to protect yourself, and being able to protect yourself responsibly is worth the people who don't handle it responsibly, and so on. And you could agree or disagree, and you could think we shouldn't have guns, but he's not saying something completely insane there. And when people brought that up, I said, okay, if someone said, hey, how are we going to stop stabbings because people get stabbed to death? How are we going to stop that? Well, let's ban knives. I mean, I think most people would think, yes, even though some people get stabbed with knives, it's still better that we have knives. In other words, you'd say, okay, some people are going to get stabbed with knives, but we still need knives. Like with cars, you got tens of thousands of deaths from car accidents and drunk drivers and so on. You wouldn't say ban cars. And sometimes you even have people like plow cars into crowds of people and commit mass murder and a terrorist attack and so on. We still think it's worth it, even though you got people who misuse them or you got accidents and so on. We still think it's worth it to have cars. So I don't think he's saying anything that's too far off from that general idea. David, put your classic videos from your first, 10 years of talking about Islam together in some format and sell. I wish they were more accessible. So many hilarious, brilliant, great videos. Yeah, that's true. But most of them I would just, if they were making an important point, I just want to remake them and make them better. Muslims say they believe in the one true God, but in such events, they always stand with the atheists and non-believers. So where's the difference between atheists and Muslims? Yeah, I have to say they also pretty much always side with the leftists, who, oddly enough, would be the first ones wiped out in an Islamic state. But it seems they align. It seems like they always align with the other groups that want to wipe out this, that want to tear down civilization to build something else in its place. And all these groups are glad to work together because they all think they'll win. In other words, the communist thinks, yes, we'll side with the Muslims, and then when we win, then we'll make it communist. And the Muslims are thinking, no, we'll side with the communists now, and then when we win, we'll make it Islamic, and so on. Palantir is one of the most powerful companies. Well, that's cool. Again, I'll check it out. Kirk is a Scottish word meaning church. He was a man of his name. Yeah, that is cool. Hey, that kind of makes it cooler with Captain Kirk. Star Trek reference for you. I said that because someone informed me that Charlie Kirk was a big fan of Star Trek for some reason. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining me. Glad we got to watch the message from Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica, and I think we're all up to date. Notice again, it's not a ton of information we know about the situation, but we all want to stay up to date, and everyone kind of needs. It's just a weird situation. Everyone's trying to misrepresent what's going on. Everyone's trying to say he's this or that, or this is the cause, or that was the cause, and so on. Lots of people trying to spread misinformation right now. So make sure you have the correct information. Someone says something that sounds weird or false, look it up and correct the person. This all comes down to us. We have to do it. So be on guard. Last two here. Stuart says, good luck to the people in the UK with the protests. Yes, that is tomorrow. That is interesting. AP will be there. Wait, no, it's not even a protest. They're calling it like a celebration of free speech and so on. Yeah, they're not calling it a protest. They're not protesting anything. But it'll be a big event, and I expect that Charlie will I'm expecting Charlie's going to play a big part of that in terms of people who are showing up, and I'm sure people will be talking about him there. But I think everyone's seeing what just happened to Charlie is going to make more people show up just because I've just seen so many people saying, okay, all right, now we got to start standing up. So I'm guessing that's going to be a huge event. AP is going to be there. I'm not allowed in the country. I would be there, but I'm not allowed in the country. But if we got some video footage tomorrow, I might go live just to go through some clips of what happened and some speeches and stuff. But we'll see what happens. I don't know how quickly things are going to be up. But if there's stuff to cover and watch, if they post a bunch of videos of what happened, I'm going to want to watch it. So I'd be happy to watch it with you all and just play some clips and go through them and see what happened. But we'll check that out. We'll see what happens tomorrow. And then AG says, I don't buy a word of Chunk's sympathy. He is clearly covering up, dissociating with his nephew's explicit advocation for violence against the right. Twitch and the media have blood on their hands. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with with the nephew and thing. I didn't see the rest of that, but I'm planning to check it out. So, yeah. All right, guys. You see what's going on? I'm not an expert on stuff that happens with the left and so on, but basically, you look at all the forces that are trying to tear down what other people spent centuries building up. Don't let them do it. It's way easier than you think. People think it's this impossible. We're in this impossible situation. No. Look up how to respond to these things and expose them. And if you get enough people exposing them, we've already seen they can't stand up to scrutiny. All right. Maybe catch you all tomorrow. We'll see how the festival goes in the UK. Catch you next time.